Welcome to another deadline stream ahead of Gameweek 15 this time. Such a quick turnaround of events. That's pretty much what, 3 deadline streams in a week. So we didn't actually do the reaction stream to Gameweek 14, but the plan is to do a reaction stream for Gameweek 15 tomorrow or on Sunday. Let's see how things unfold, but thank you very much for tuning in. There's going to be a few other game weeks that are going to be kind of hectic, like game weeks 13, 14 and 15 were, I think, around the game week 19 period, but let's wait and see. Thank you to everyone who has decided to tune in today, and I'll try to get through as many questions and comments as possible. As I said before in my team selection video, the plan is to probably hold the transfer and then have 2 heading into game week 16, but of course there are a few different problems I have with my squad, and a small red arrow actually, despite getting 60 points to around 58k, so not too happy with how the week turned out, but it could have been worse, and I'm still in a much better position now as I was maybe 5 weeks ago, to be fair. So thank you very much everyone for tuning in, and now let's get through all your questions. So AJDC saying muchas gracias afición, esto para vosotros, Factos. Yeah, Mr. Factos, huh? Some say the kind of chemical solution to that is LM7. Chris El Famoso says, evening Dylan, I hope you are ready for me. I guess so. Obviously that might sound a bit weird out of context, but thank you very much for tuning in, mate. NM0212 says, my transfers Archer and Livramento out for Dennis and White. Team Ramsdale, want Bernardo but can't afford him. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to completely undo your team to get Bernardo Silva in, and there could be rotation, whether it's against Watford or the week after. So just bear that in mind if you really want to get Bernardo Silva in. But of course, I want to get him myself, probably for Rafinha in Game Week 16. But I do like your team overall, especially your defence once again. Duffy would be the main concern at the back line. You've got Ramsdale and Ben White, and as proven yesterday, Arsenal aren't a reliable team, especially when they're facing the so-called big sides. So I probably would maybe look to shape up your defence a little bit. So, for example, you could get in Lamptey in for one of them. And also with your midfield, once again, I talked about Saka in my transfer tips. I probably would sell him, but the rest looks fine. Rafinha in Game Week 16 you could also sell, but it looks pretty good overall. I like Dennis, and Kane is also another one. You can maybe move on to Ronaldo. But other than that, I like your team. And welcome Kevin and Alvin. Welcome Marius, and good luck to you as well this game week. Thank you Danny, Josh, Kai Havertz. Welcome Nahian, Lipuk as well, Aranya. Greetings to everyone here. Right on time for the live stream. Remember to like, share and comment. Thank you Joseph. Good to see you here once again, mate. Let's see, what else have we missed? Guru says, hey Dylan, is it worth going from Kane to Ronaldo, or is it right to spread the money? That's a good question. I probably would wait one more week with Kane, but honestly, I think you have to get rid of Kane at some point. But I would probably give him this 1 week, but he hasn't shown anything. He's only had 1 return, and that was 12 points against Newcastle, but blanks in every other game. So he is definitely a sell, but maybe not this week. Having said that, Norwich have improved under Dean Smith, but I would say go to Ronaldo perhaps, but after. And with Ronaldo, be aware that there could be rotation every 3 or 4 days. When United enter that period where there's just a chaotic fixture schedule, I would probably just take that into account when you bring Ronaldo in. Is he going to be worth that 12 million premium price tag? Probably not, but he will probably do much better than Kane. Welcome, man, John. Welcome, Josh. Have very similar team to you. What are your plans? Have 2 free transfers. I'm thinking of Vardy and Tony to Dennis and Ronaldo. Some plans that I am thinking about is, for example, Vardy to Ronaldo, but that might change, to be fair. Then I look at other options. I look at my defence, and Livramento to Lamptey, for example, that could be on the cards. The rest of my defence is fine, although Alonso I am having kind of second doubts about. Let's see how he does going forwards. Rafinha is another one. I think he's the kind of clear transfer out from Game Week 16. He could become Bernardo Silva or someone else. And then, of course, Vardy could become Ronaldo. And then one of my other strikers could then become Emmanuel Dennis. So that's what I am thinking of doing at the moment. Yeah, overall, pretty happy with my squad. But I think those sorts of transfers would benefit my team in the long term. And let's see. So, yeah. Start Tony or White? I would probably start... That's a good question. I would start Tony, yeah. Ronaldo to Kane and Jota instead of Rafinha and Dennis, or King instead of Wilson for a -4 in Game Week 16? That's a good question. Yeah, I would probably do that. Ronaldo and Jota in, Nicola, yeah. Green arrow from 6k to 2k. That's really impressive, mate. I mean, 6k was impressive enough to begin with, but 2k is very good. Welcome, Kobe. Thoughts on Hwang to Dennis and Rafinha to Maddison? I like them a lot, but in terms of replacing Rafinha, long term, I'd rather have Bernardo Silva. But Maddison for the next 3 or 4 is very good. Play Gallagher or Livramento? Good question. At the moment, I'm going with Livramento, but I am kind of thinking about that one, to be fair. Hi, Dylan. Time to get rid of Gallagher. I talked about this in my transfer tips. I don't think it's time to get rid of him. I know he's been very poor recently in the last 2 game weeks, but I would still have a bit of patience, see how he does over these kind of good fixtures coming up after United, and then reassess. Foden or Gundogan, or both? Honestly, at this moment in time, it's Gundogan or Bernardo Silva. I like Foden a lot. When he's fit, he's the most explosive of the lot. I think I read a stat where in 2021, he's got 6 double-digit returns in 25 appearances, Phil Foden. And then I think Gundogan and Bernardo Silva both have 8 each, something like that. But they've played maybe 31 games. Maybe it actually isn't even 8. But I think Foden is probably a bit more impressive in terms of double-digit returns. But yeah, I think all of them are good options. But at the moment, I would put Bernardo Silva first, to be honest. Evening all, time to qualify for the FPL Cup. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the FPL Cup is now coming around and a lot of people will have questions for that. But honestly, I literally don't even care about the FPL Cup. What about Bernardo Silva? He could be rested in one of these game weeks coming up. I mean, he's played 3 games in a row. He had the rest during the international break, but yeah, he's still a really good acquisition for your squad long term. What about Foden? Will he be available for Watford, please? I mean, he was on the bench the other day, so he will be available and he could even start, but it's a difficult one. If you held him up to this point, I would probably keep, but yeah, before that, before the West Ham game, I would have probably sold, and Villa, of course. Bench Gallagher or Livramento. I'm benching Gallagher at the moment, but yeah. Hold Antonio. This is the thing. If you've held them up until this point, just like with Foden, I probably would keep now. But, I mean, can you really go against, going from him to Dennis or King? Probably not, to be honest. Hey Dylan, Livramento to Lamptey or Spurs defender? I'd probably say Lamptey, but Reguilon is definitely looking like the best option from Spurs. Is Rashford or Sancho a good replacement for Son? Yeah, I think they're decent options, but I would rather go down to Bernardo Silva or someone cheaper and then maybe upgrade someone else. But that's not a bad option, definitely not. Starting Boomer or Gallagher? Really tricky question, to be fair. I actually would still go for Gallagher, but I'm not really a big fan of either this game week. I like Gallagher long term though. Bowen or Gundogan or Silva after game week 16? I would say either Silva or Bowen, and obviously Gundogan, don't discount him. Obviously, just because he missed out a bit, unfortunately, this game week, it doesn't mean he's suddenly, not a non-option. But I would probably still say Bernardo Silva. I do like Bowen, though. Do you want Spurs assets? Have Højbjerg, but like Reguilon or Son? Højbjerg is not really someone I'd want, to be honest. And Reguilon might be someone for the long term, but Spurs' fixtures aren't that great from now on. Obviously after Norwich, that's what I'm talking about, but some difficult ones coming up in January. Having said that, there's still some good fixtures sprinkled in between, but I don't think you need to get the Spurs assets in, and that was more something from before. Hey Dylan, how are you, man? What's your transfer plans? My transfer plans, like I just illustrated earlier, is probably hold the transfer for this game week and then make the moves that I talked about in my team selection video and earlier in the stream. And will Vardy play this weekend? I think he will, and it might be in the Napoli game where he's actually benched for Daka. Let's wait and see. Forza Rodrigo, you're on about the Leeds one, right? I'm guessing, but if you are, probably still not too keen, to be fair. And yeah, especially with the fixtures coming up for Leeds, I'd say no. Sell Livramento or not? You don't have to, this is the thing, but I think you could maybe improve by going to Lamptey because of the fixtures. Would you rather get rid of Vardy or Antonio for King or another budget striker to facilitate Livramento to Cancelo? At this moment in time, it's difficult, but I probably would say sell Vardy because Antonio has some good fixtures coming up soon, and that's where you'd expect an upturn in form. It also gives you more money to improve your squad. Nahian, welcome to others who have joined in. Captain Salah questions. Or Son versus Norwich. I'd captain Salah, honestly. Yeah, I'd captain Salah over Son. Is Rashford? Yeah, once again with Rashford or Sancho. I answered this question already. Thoughts on captaining Trent? I would still captain Salah, I think. Wolves could score. And I said this about the Everton game, and Everton ended up scoring, and Trent didn't do too well. I'd go for Salah. Hi Dylan, what do you think about Vardy to Ronaldo and Semedo to Johnson? Yeah, I think that looks pretty decent, to be fair. I like the look of that LFC. Antonio to Watkins, that's something that maybe you could look at in Game Week 17, but I probably wouldn't do that, to be honest. What about Ronaldo? Is he going to play after running down the tunnel before the game was over? Yeah, he's a little bit of a doubt, isn't he, to start the next game, but you know what? I think I wouldn't be bringing him in right now anyway. If you have Kane, for example, that's something to look at afterwards. Salah or Bernardo Silva captain? I would probably go for Salah still, but Bernardo is tempting. Play Livramento, Dennis, Antonio or Gallagher. If I had to pick, I would probably go with Livramento or Gallagher. That's what I'm thinking of at the moment. But honestly, I'm not too sure. I've got Antonio right now above Gallagher in the pecking order, but I'll be honest, I'm not completely sure about that. So that's something to think about. Start Livramento, Lamptey or Gallagher. That's a tough one. Looking at the fixtures, maybe I'd say Lamptey actually. I'd probably go for Lamptey, but it's tough. It's not that easy, to be honest. Good evening, mate. Welcome, John. Kai Havertz says, just do Kane to Ronaldo in Game Week 16 or Kane to Jesus and get Bernardo. Yeah, I think that looks pretty decent, to be fair, Kai. That's what I probably would say. Kane out, Ronaldo in. I would probably do that after the Norwich game, even though I don't have any faith in Harry Kane right now. Watkins or Dennis King? I'd probably say King, but the other two are also really good choices. Watkins is someone to look at from Game Week 17 onwards, and with the Watford assets, they're someone to look at for the Game Week after. I'm not sure about bringing them in right now, but obviously if you can just afford to bench them and then use that extra money to make another transfer, then you could just go ahead with it right now. Do you think every single Man City midfielder will be rotated in December? That's a great question. I think so. I think pretty much the vast majority, if not all, will be rested at some point. You just have to take it on the chin, but when they do play, they are great options, especially Gundogan, Bernardo Silva and Foden. Hey Dylan, who to start in Mbeumo or Gallagher or why? I would probably start from those three. Maybe Gallagher actually, but yeah, if not in Mbeumo, I guess, but I just don't really like him as an asset at the moment. Get Jota in for Son, probably after the next game week, but yeah, Jota's looking like a better long-term option. Also, Bernardo or Jota, or do a -4 and get both. I would say Jota if you have to prioritize one, despite the fact that Bernardo has a better fixture, and if he does start, he will probably outscore Jota, but yeah, Jota is just, I think, will be a better asset when he does start, at least for the time being. King or Dennis? King. I talked about this in my transfer tips video. If you haven't already checked that out, I make a comparison at the beginning of the video. I talk about their stats in detail. Will it be the right time to sell Antonio? I think the right time would have been a few weeks ago, because now, after the Chelsea game, some very good fixtures for West Ham. You can still sell him though, don't get me wrong, and maybe you can get a King or a Dennis, for example. Livramento to Lamptey or Johnson? I'd say Lamptey, but I do like Johnson too. Have Sarr as my keeper. Do go De Gea or Ramsdale? I'd still go Ramsdale. Play Gallagher, Benteke or Livramento? I would probably play either Gallagher or Livramento, and right now, as you can see with my team, I'm leaning towards Livramento. Captain Salah or Kane? I'd still go for Salah. Should I replace Alonso and Mbeumo with Reguilon and Bernardo Silva? That's the thing though. I mean, would you want to get rid of Alonso already? But if you can afford, you know, Mbeumo to Silva directly, I'd just do that. Tony, Hwang or Benteke to start? I'd go for Tony. Welcome, Corey. Hey, Dylan, I want to captain Reguilon. What do you say? Probably not. I can see why you're doing it, but I wouldn't do it myself. Dennis or King? Once again, any Dennis or King questions, I talked about this in my last video. I would go for King, but Dennis is looking really good too. Jota or Salah captain? I'd go for Salah. Thoughts on Foden? Is he a sell or keep? If you already have Jota and you've kept Foden up until now, I'd say keep at this moment in time. My plan was to hold the transfer, but my patience is running thin with Kane. I can do Kane to Ronaldo this week itself, and I am very tempted. How is Kane doing overall? How is underlying stats? We'll actually check now the updated stats, but over the course of the season, they're very average for a player of his ability. But yeah, the thing with Kane is he's been so underwhelming this season. So let's actually look at his stats for Game Week 14 specifically. So he had 2 shots, 1 on target, 2 shots in the box, 0.41 XG and 0.47 XA. And I believe for one of the goals, so it might have been the one that Son scored that Reguilon assisted, Kane made a really good pass to actually play Reguilon in. But he had one big chance himself, created a big chance, 3 key passes. So the stats were pretty decent. But Brentford, really, I mean, Spurs did score 3 goals against them after all. And just Spurs and Kane, I don't know, there's still something that's not right about them. And there's a reason why, before Game Week 14 anyway, they had the second least amount of goals scored. And it's just not looking very good for Harry Kane at the moment. And if you have him, I'd keep him for one more game week. But honestly, he's just not looking like the same player from last season. And if he does get some form back, it'll probably take a little bit more time before that happens. But if you look at the stats across the whole season, then yeah, I mean, they're nothing special, to be honest. 4.02 XG, 2.7 XA, and he's only got 1 goal and 1 assist. So He's just nowhere. I mean, there's no correlation between the underlying numbers and the actual goal output. And to be honest, the underlying numbers aren't anything impressive anyway for someone that expensive. 6 big chances across the season and 4 big chances created. But yeah, only 1 goal and 1 assist. I mean, who would have thought that would happen after he notched the Golden Boot and the Golden Playmaker awards last season? I mean, it's just such a surprise. Saint-Maximin or Adams? That's a tough one. I probably would say Saint-Maximin, but I'm not really too sure about that. And either way, I'd look to sell both of them in the coming weeks. Yo, what's up, my dude? Hella cool stream. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Lamoyo. Thank you very much. Much appreciated, mate. Livramento to die or Lamptey? Still Lamptey for me. Path. Hey, Dylan, I want a Captain Region. I answered your question already, Ahmed, and I wouldn't do that. With Ronaldo, he could also get rotated, and I was thinking without him, I can get Jesus and Watkins along with upgrading the rest of my squad. I can see what you mean, and I agree. I talked about this earlier, but I'm not a big fan of Jesus and Watkins necessarily. I think Watkins could be good from Gameweek 17 onwards, but I'd rather cover City with Bernardo Silva, Foden, or Gundogan rather than Jesus. I'd mainly be looking at King or Dennis, actually. So I don't think budget needs to be that big of an issue for you, but I agree with your point on Ronaldo. Vardy to Dennis this week, Tony and Rafinha to Bone for the next week. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, because if you save it for next week, that Vardy transfer, you probably wouldn't want to get rid when he faces Newcastle. But that looks pretty good, to be honest. And if not Bowen, you could go for Gallagher still. We see a bit of signs of improvement there. And also there are different choices. Cornet is still someone to think about. And if you can stretch to it, a City midfielder looks good. Foden or Son or Bernardo. Right now, I'd say Bernardo Silva, but I like Foden and Son, especially Foden when he's fit. But I'd say Bernardo right now. Hey Dylan, start Livramento or Armstrong? I would probably start, that's a tough one, probably Livramento. Thoughts about Gundogan, mate? He has perfect differential. I've been talking about him recently, and he is actually one of my proposed transfers in for Game Week 16. It's going to be him or Bernardo Silva, but there's not much in it. But right now, I would favour Bernardo Silva slightly, and I said this before the last game week, I think the last deadline stream as well, and that was before the news came out that he was actually injured, Gundogan. But yeah, there's not much to split them. I would still prefer Bernardo Silva just a little bit. Yo, how you doing? Says Messi Monkey. Pretty well. Hopefully you are doing well too. Why or Lava to start or Lava? I'm guessing you're saying Livramento. I would start Livramento. Took a -4 for Bernardo. Fair enough. Just bear in mind there is a risk of slight, rotation. I don't know if it's going to be this game week or another, but. Hey Dylan, will there be any stream before the match starts? Probably not. This is the stream, the deadline stream. Tomorrow there could be a reaction stream after the Game Week 15 matches. Start Antonio Livramento or Jimenez? I would probably start Livramento, Craig, but I am not entirely sure about that. Sancho or Rashford? Probably Sancho, but I'm not a big fan of either right now. Let's see how they do under Ranić. Son and Rafinha to Rashford and Bernardo. I like the Bernardo one. I'm not entirely sure about Rashford, if I'm being honest. Hey Dylan, having an exam tomorrow, but still decide to tune in for a while. Thank you, Weiseng. Much appreciated. Good luck with your exam. Hopefully you do very well. And Saturday, an exam on Saturday. Jesus, I've never done that before, to be honest, but good luck, mate. Start 2 of Gallagher, Lamptey, Hwang and Antonio. It'd have to be Lamptey and probably Gallagher, if not Antonio. Thoughts on Tony and Rafinha out for Silva and King? I like those transfers a lot, Hibs. I like them a lot. Just bear in mind that Tony has some good fixtures coming up, and Rafinha, in Game Week 15 anyway, has a decent fixture against Brentford. Sold Jimenez and Vardy and brought in Ronaldo and Dennis. Also, what are your thoughts about Ranić? I've been speaking about this when it was announced. I actually had a segment dedicated to it, I think in the preview, and also in some streams that I did. I think with the run that United have right now, I think they'll go on a very nice run. And yeah, I think Ranić will start to get the best out of their wingers. Maybe like, for example, Sancho. And Bruno Fernandes, I think, is definitely someone to look out for. He's probably the one I'd mainly be looking at from United. And if Ronaldo starts the vast majority of games, which he should, but if the rotation isn't that bad for him, of course, he's someone also to think about. I'm not entirely convinced about them defensively. Even with Ranić, he's not really a defence-first coach. He's very, very intent on attacking and pressing. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Let's wait and see, of course. And the more we see from him at United, the more information we'll get and the better decision we'll make regarding him. I got rid of Maddison for Benrahma last second. Wow, you got rid of Maddison. And when was this, by the way? If you got rid of Maddison before the last game, that would be a bit surprising. Vice-captain Jota or Cancelo? Probably Cancelo, and also I'm assuming you have Salah captain Johan Cruyff. It's just a good idea to kind of vice-captain someone from a different team just in case. Got Bernardo for Townsend and Dennis for Jimenez for a -4. Yeah, I like the look of those transfers. Sharia, I like them. I'm thinking about Gundogan because Bernardo played every game. He's going to get rested for some games. Yeah, but the same can be said about Gundogan when the time comes. Rotation is, going to happen to everyone pretty much at City. Cancelo at the moment, and I have to stress this, at the moment seems like the only one who is kind of, not getting that at the moment. But that could change very soon. But yeah, I agree. Gundogan's a very good option. So is Bernardo Silva. Right now, I would slightly edge towards Bernardo Silva. But in the coming weeks, Gundogan may sway me the other way. Dennis or King to buy from Watford? King for me, but I do like Dennis too. Who to start among Tony, Gallagher and Antonio? I would start Tony. Tony or Saint-Maximin? I would probably start Tony actually. He's also on penalties. And also Matthew. I'd probably look to get rid of Saint-Maximin after this Burnley game. Should I get Kane for Vardy? I probably wouldn't be looking to get Kane in, mate, because yeah, he had decent stats against Brentford, but I'm just not convinced by him, and the fixtures are kind of turning soon, so if anything, do Vardy to Ronaldo in the coming weeks, but I probably wouldn't do that yet. Pep said every player is healthy except for Torres. Yeah, and obviously we have the Mendy situation, but that is true. Everyone is pretty much available for City, and yeah, that's why Gundogan is now back on our radar, and the knock wasn't anything serious. And also, just for anyone that's kind of wondering about Reece James, he is another one, actually, that he is available now to play West Ham, and same with Jorginho. Should I start Livramento or Tony? Tough pick. I probably would edge towards Tony, mate. Force on Emerson Real. He's a decent choice, but I think Reguilon is the one to go for, and it's something I've been saying for the last few weeks. At one point, I was actually considering Emerson Real over Reguilon, but looking at the stats, looking at how they've been performing as well, especially recently, definitely has to be Reguilon right now. Start 2 from Gundogan, Vardy, and Mbeumo and Livramento, thinking Vardy will get a 1-pointer. I think Vardy will start, but of course, you never know. And the fact that he played the other day, he might be benched now. I would start Gundogan for sure, and I'd still start Vardy, mate. I'd still start him. Are you getting Bernardo, Dennis, King and Bowen? How's your transfer plans? I talked about this before, Weiseng, and they could all come in, but instead of Bowen, it could be Bernardo Silva or Gundogan. If Bernardo and Bowen come in, it would be for Rafinha and Conor Gallagher potentially, if I don't like the look of him, to be honest, but let's wait and see. Hey Dylan, White or Gallagher to start? I would start Gallagher. Ranić to solidify defence, his comments on bringing balance to the team. I'm still not convinced. Like, maybe Luke Shaw could be someone to look at, but I still don't look at United as a team that can keep a lot of clean sheets. Maybe with these fixtures, that could translate into form and, clean sheets. And it's definitely something to consider. You don't want to be completely closed-minded about it, but I would mainly be looking at Bruno Fernandes or maybe one of their other attackers like Sancho or Ronaldo. Thank you, Melvin. Yeah, and if anyone else, kind of repeats the same questions, especially if they've already been answered, then obviously I encourage you and all the other mods to just put people on timeout and stuff like that. Kane or Ronaldo, Game Week 15 and going forward? Ronaldo, definitely. Bring Cancelo, sell Diaz, or no need? I'm afraid of rotation. Everyone's going to be subject to rotation, and I think Cancelo just offers you that attacking upside, so I'd go for Cancelo. If you can, go for it. I'd do Diaz to Cancelo even. Is there a good 4.5 forward? No, not really, Chris. Not at this moment in time, there really isn't, and I probably would just go with any one of them, to be honest. But it's just not really something to. Yeah, there's no one to choose from. Which one to start? Tony, Livramento, and Mbeumo? I'd go for Tony. Start Dennis or White? I would go for White actually in that one. Start Lamptey, Gallagher, or Armstrong? I would go for Lamptey. Would you take out Rafinha this week or Mbeumo? I'd rather take out Mbeumo, to be honest. Even if he hauls this week, I just think he's a sell. Should I make Vardy to Ronaldo or Norman to Bowen? I'd probably do Norman to Bowen. Thank you, Messi Monkey. Best midfielder pick from Man City? Right now, Bernardo Silva, but don't discount Foden and Gundogan. Start Antonio or Dennis over White, or start White. I'd probably start Antonio maybe. I'm not too sure about that one though. I think all three could blank, if I'm being honest. Saka to Cornet 1 week punt, yeah, fair enough, but I don't really like these 1 week punts too much. But obviously, if you are in a comfortable position and you have 2 free transfers, then go for it. Either way, I'd sell Saka. Start Livramento or Armstrong? Livramento for me. Got Smith Rowe for Bruno and Trent for Shaw. Fair enough, yeah, I think. And Trent for Shaw, okay, fair enough. Wait, so you got those United players in? That's going to be interesting, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of getting rid of Trent for sure, but let's wait and see. Mbeumo, keep or sell? He's a sell for me, Manish, same as last week. Take a -4 for Trent. It depends who you get rid of, TTV Reaper, but yeah, I think it could be worth it anyway. Thoughts on Jimenez to King and Semedo to Reece James? Good luck this game week. I think that's excellent, Colin. I'd probably do it, despite the fact that King is someone you probably look to bench this week. Still looks really good long term. What do you think about bringing in Foden? I mean, he should play the vast majority of games, but because he's just coming back from an injury, I don't expect him to play the full 90 anyway. And even if he does, he might not, start every single game, especially, when we have this quick turnaround of each game week. But Foden is a good option. Lamptey or disappointing Mbeumo to start? Lamptey for me. Thank you for all the comments. Jota King. Oh, Jesus. Jota King or Bowen Watkins? Tough one. I'd go for Jota King, though. Malpai, no, I'd sell him still. Don't be fooled by that amazing goal we scored against West Ham. I'd sell, to be quite frank. And yeah, keep the comments coming in. I'll try to get through as many as possible. And if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you to everyone who's decided to tune in today. And we have been going for nearly, half an hour. So obviously very much appreciated. And these are my socials, Twitter and Instagram. Dylan_RCM is the same as my YouTube username. And there's also the link to my Discord server in the description below, and also to the league if you haven't already. And the league code is also going to be on screen for you right now on the bottom left hand corner, 886RGT. And right now, 58k in the world. I've got one free transfer, I think 0.8 million in the bank, and 60 points I scored in game week 14. Looking to push on. And some of my transfer plans do include Rafinha to Bernardo Silva or Gundogan potentially. And then other transfers could be Lamptey in for Livramento. If not, it could be Johnson or someone else. Alonso, let's wait and see. But he is someone I've kind of got my eye on. Maybe that I made the wrong choice with him. But of course, I want to give him a bit of time. Gallagher, another one that I still think he can come good. But if there isn't any signs of improvement, he could actually make way for Jared Bowen or another midfielder around that price. Other than that, maybe a Dennis or a King, especially King. I think I'd probably back him over Dennis. He could come in for one of my other strikers, and then Ronaldo can come in for Vardy. But I am open-minded, and I still like my structure. And if I had a wild card, I probably wouldn't use it just yet. But still, I think there are definitely ways to improve this team. And let's try and get through your questions as well. Region versus Cash. I probably would go for Region, but from game week 17 onwards, I think it's a bit tighter, and Cash could actually be a very good option. Wei Seng. Start Zaha or Armstrong? I'd start Armstrong. Vardy for Jesus, -4. I wouldn't get rid of Vardy, especially for a -4. Unless you get rid of Vardy for maybe Ronaldo for a -4, perhaps, but I probably wouldn't. Best goalkeeper to get right now, I'd still go for Ramsdale, just for, value for money. Should I sell Kane for CR7? Probably after this game week, Anthony, but yeah, Kane is looking like a disaster. I don't know if Ranić will play, sure. Yeah, I can see why you say that based on some comments he made last season, but let's wait and see, of course. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who plays at that left-back spot, but if Telles does start, of course, we can keep an eye on him, but either way, I'm not really thinking of United assets defensively. Is this a good team, says Bibby? Any replacements for Douglas and Højbjerg? I don't think you need to get rid of Douglas Luiz, if that's what you're on about. Let's check. Douglas. Well, yeah. I'd say keep Douglas Luiz, and to improve Højbjerg, I don't know how much money you have in the bank, but I'd definitely be looking at maybe a Jared Bowen, for example. And then Rafinha is another one you can move on to a City midfielder. But if you don't have the money for that, then you might have to be looking at downgrading Vardy potentially. But you don't have to upgrade Douglas and Højbjerg. I'd recommend keeping Douglas and maybe upgrading Højbjerg. White, Jimenez to Cancelo, Dennis -4, or Alonso, Jimenez, Cancelo, King, or just Jimenez out? Good question. Very good question. Yeah, I like getting Cancelo in, but I probably wouldn't take a -4. I mean, that does sound a bit strange, doesn't it? I mean, I think Cancelo could actually pay off that hit immediately. You know what? I think I would actually take the -4, get rid of White and Jimenez, and get Cancelo, Dennis, Ryan. Would you start Antonio, Livramento, Dennis? Right now, I'd start Livramento. Saka to Cornet-Bone or Livramento to Lamptey? Good question. I'd say Saka to Bowen. That's why I do Mario. But it's a bit of an odd time to get, Bowen in. Do you use Twitter often, mate? Yeah, I do. And I engage with people on there, and I do tweet as well. But yeah, I use it often. Yeah, for good or bad, you could say. Best attacker to get right now, I'd say King or Dennis. I know right now, as in this game week, might be an odd time, but long term, I think it's worth it. Mbeumo to Smith Rowe or keep for Leeds? I probably would just sell anyway, Genius Gamer, but that's not a bad thing, keeping him, and he could maybe repay your faith for a little bit. Can you explain your thoughts about why you're starting Livramento of Antonio? Yeah, and playing Antonio will be safer, especially if you're playing the percentages, but I'm looking at the Chelsea-West Ham game and also just Antonio's form. He's blanked 4 times in a row. Will it be 5? Maybe, maybe not, but I'm not really, fully confident in Antonio. His stats, especially in recent game weeks, just aren't really up to par, and I think Livramento could keep a clean sheet against Brighton, and I could see a 0-0 in that game. Having said that, I'm not confident about that decision, and I might still change it. And Gallagher could even come into the side ahead of Antonio and Livramento, so I'm not entirely sure. But I think there are definitely some arguments against Antonio, and that's why at the moment I've benched him. Vardy worth holding, possibly for 2 or 3 more game weeks, but I mean, no striker is essential at the moment. That's kind of the moral of the story. I can do Sissoko to Silva from -4. What do you think? I mean, if you don't have to do that because you might have that situation where you have 8 attackers and that's not really ideal. But yeah, you could go for it. Just bear in mind, Bernardo could be benched even this game week. Suggest cheap strikers other than Dennis and Tony. I mean, King, mate. You don't have to just go for Dennis or Tony. You can go for Joshua King. Benteke is still a good option, but I mean, I'm not going to fabricate names just for the sake of it. I just think those are probably the best options you can go for. I'm trying to think of anyone else. I don't think there really is. And Benteke the other day showed how poor he can be. So it has to be those two or Joshua King. And right now, I'd go for the Watford assist. Another one is Watkins, but he's not necessarily that cheap. He's a kind of medium priced. Hi Dylan, would you play Livramento or Duffy? I'd play Livramento, to be honest. What do you think of Sancho as being a transfer in? Probably I still wouldn't go for him right now, but if I see some improvement under Ranić, then yeah, he's definitely someone to look at. I wasn't that impressed by him, to be honest, against Arsenal. And I thought he would actually have, a bit more joy. My plan was to hold the transfer. Rania, I answered your question already with Kane, and I actually took a deep dive into the stats. I mean, you can just keep Kane for 1 more week, then sell him for Ronaldo, but ultimately sell Kane, to be honest. Captain Kane? I wouldn't go there. He just hasn't shown enough. And even if he does haul, well done, Kane. But I mean, you've been poor for the whole season, so I'd still go for Salah. To be honest, that's just my opinion. You don't have to, agree with me there. But I just think that he hasn't shown enough. Pick one out of Mount, Bowen, Benrahma, Rafinha. For this game week, it has to be Rafinha, but long term, it's definitely Bowen. Dennis or King? King once again. Gallagher and Rudiger out for Region and Maddison for a -4. What do you think, Dylan? I can see why you're doing that, but I mean, it's not the worst game week to actually do that, but from -4, that puts a few doubts into my mind. And also, Maddison's good for 3 or 4 game weeks. Region, the fixtures aren't that great, really. I probably wouldn't. Best goalkeeper, any budget? Ramsdale for me. Which 2 to play? Dennis, Gallagher, Antonio, Livramento. I would play Livramento and either Gallagher or Antonio. Considering selling Vardy and Jimenez for Ronaldo and Joshua King or Dennis, what are your thoughts? I think that's perfectly fine, Cohen. I'd probably do that. And if I had to pick, I'd go for Joshua King because he's on penalties, he's not going to the African Cup of Nations, and his underlying stats are far superior to Dennis. I talked about this in my transfer tips video, and in terms of big chances, King has 10 and Dennis only has 3. Then again, it does suggest that Dennis is more clinical. He's got 6 goals and 6 assists, but I would still probably prefer Joshua King. Transferring Foden, I probably wouldn't, but of course he can do very well if he starts. Is sure a good option long term. It's too early to say. He might not even start under Ranić, but really, I'm not that confident in United defensive assets, even with Ranić, to be honest. Tony or King? Long term, I'd say King, but for the next 4 game weeks or so, especially this game week in particular, I'd probably say Tony, but long term, it's definitely King. Start White or say Maximan? I'd start say Maximan. Got Kane, Jimenez, Dennis, 2 million in the bank. Already have Gallagher, so Benteke or Jesus. No City asset except Cancelo. Your attack is perfectly fine, mate. What I would probably be looking to do is, yeah, it's a tough one. Jimenez has tough fixtures. Next game week, I do Kane to Ronaldo, perhaps. And in terms of Jimenez, that's a difficult one. Maybe go to Antonio if you start to back him and the Hammers show a bit more form offensively. Would you downgrade Antonio to King so to free up funds for Trent? If I didn't have Trent and that was the clearest way to get him, I would do that, yeah. Pookie thoughts? Not for me. No, I would. Look, he's a good option, and if you're looking for a budget striker, he could be decent, but the fixtures aren't that impressive. His stats aren't that impressive either. He will be the talisman for Norwich. If Norwich get a positive result and Pookie scores, especially an equaliser or winner, he will be very much amongst the bonus points, but I would rather go for the other budget strikers I discussed, to be honest. I want to replace Son, so pick one of Mount, Bowen, Benrahma, Rafinha. Bowen, mate. You have to think long term. Bench 2 out of Antonio, Bowen, Mbumo, Livramento. I'd bench Bowen and possibly Antonio, but I mean, that's very risky. Keep or remove Jimenez. I'd sell him, but you don't have to. He might score a goal against Liverpool. He's done it before. But looking at those next 7 fixtures, on the whole, 5 of them are poor. I'd probably sell. Can you help me with which defenders to play? I have Alonso, Azpilicueta, Walker, Lamptey and Livramento. I don't think Azpilicueta will start anyway. I'd start Alonso, I'd start Walker, and I would start Lamptey if you're only picking 3. Start 2 from White, Livramento and Mbumo. I would start Livramento and maybe Mbumo, but I'm not that sure. I don't really back him too much. Captain Son or Salah? Salah all day. Even while watching the matches, Kane looks so average. It's so lackluster. And Norwich have become much better than earlier. They haven't conceded. Yeah, exactly. And that's another point I made when I was doing a deep dive into the stats. Even though Norwich are still not that impressive defensively, they have improved under Dean Smith. And to be honest with Aranya, I think Kane just has been that poor. Even if he does, produce against Norwich and you sell him, I wouldn't really regret it too much. He just hasn't shown enough. Dennis or Saint-Maximin, who to start? I would start Saint-Maximin this week, clearly, definitely. You have to play the fixture. I brought in Watkins instead of getting Antonio. Thoughts on Watkins? I mean, I like Watkins from Gameweek 17 onwards, but I think they do play Liverpool soon, Aston Villa. And Watkins did score a hat-trick against them a few seasons ago. I don't see that happening again, but yeah, I mean, fair enough. That's an interesting choice, and that could actually pay off for you. And he has been doing well under Gerrard, and I think that's 3 games in a row now that he has scored in Villa Park, or at Villa Park, should I say. Best replacements for Rafinha for next round. Yeah, I mean, because you have 9.6 million in the bank, I'd definitely be looking at a City asset if you don't have them already, Jamal. And I'd look at, obviously, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva or Foden. And right now, Bernardo is my favourite. Hi, Dylan. Would you play Livramento or Duffy? Yeah, you said that before, mate. And I'd go for Livramento. Yeah, I'd go for Livramento. Thoughts on my team? It says Kobe. Good team, solid. Any kind of worries? I mean, you could maybe move Kane on, whether it's this week or next week. And other moves could include, to be honest, that's fine. You don't have to make too many moves. Maddison in 3 or 4 game weeks, I'm not too sure about. But yeah, I think that's a good team overall. Let's evaluate the situation with Gallagher. And if you ever need more money, you could even double up on Watford attack, even though that sounds very ridiculous. And that's definitely not something I would have thought about at the beginning of the season. But yeah, the only thing I'd say is Kane to Ronaldo in either this game week or next game week. It's up to what you do there. But yeah. Just a second, let's actually, we'll be right back, but yeah, just a little break. All right, we're back, just a little break, little water break. All right, so let's get back to your questions. And if you haven't already, as we always say, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Massive shout out to everyone who is sending super chats across all the live streams and become channel members. All of it is much appreciated. And also those who have followed me on Twitter and Instagram, who have joined the Discord server, the league, and also just subscribe to the channel. All of it is much appreciated. Thoughts on Jimenez to Watkins? I like that, Glenn, to be honest. And if not, you can also consider Joshua King or Dennis. And of course, there's still Antonio. I know he's been very poor. And also Benteke. You can't discount him completely. Sell Benrahma, Rafinha or Gallagher? Definitely Benrahma for me, mate. I know the fixtures are turning very soon, but I don't really think the underlying stats, even when he was doing well, were that impressive. Jimenez to Jesus, worth it? I mean, I think Jesus will score more points, but I probably wouldn't go there. I'd rather get Bernardo Silva, as Tarquin asked. Bernardo thoughts? I think he's a good option, and you could say the goals aren't really sustainable, but I think he's just having an incredible season, and I think he will be probably one of the better options to pick from Man City. And right now, only Cancelo's really scoring more points from that team. Do you think Antonio will have a good run starting from Game Week 18? I think so, and that's kind of the hope, holding on to him for so long. Time to get Hwang and out and Sarr. Yeah, I would do that, Nabil. 4 million in the bank. Who should I get? I think Hwang to either King or Dennis. Oh, Jesus, I should have spaced it out or said Dennis first. But yeah, Hwang to Dennis or King. I would go for King. And Sarr, I would look at a City midfielder if you don't have them, mate. And I think Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Foden are the best ones, and I'd go for Foden. Bernardo Silva. Hi Dylan, could you please help me? Keep or sell Foden? If you still have Foden, I'd keep, to be honest. Hi Dylan, should I play Sanchez or Ramsdale? Good question. I I actually would probably play Sanchez. Mount underrated? Not really. He's only really hauled against Watford and Norwich and so many blanks in between. He's a good asset when he plays. But no, not for me. I mean, he's a good asset, but I think there are better. Best defender for the coming weeks below 5 million has to be Lamptey for me. Yeah, and that's kind of just looking long term rather than just for a few game weeks, but I'd go there. Sell Vardy or Antonio to get Jota Bernardo in. Probably Vardy because Antonio has good long-term fixtures. Sell Gallagher or Bowen with Antonio to fund Jota in with King. I wouldn't be that keen about selling both West Ham assets, but I also wouldn't be keen about selling Gallagher as much. But yeah, since you already have Antonio, I mean, you're getting rid of him, aren't you? So I'd probably say sell Gallagher, but I'm not that sure, to be honest. Who is a more priority buy, Bernardo Silva or Jota? Jota for me. Get Man United players, they're a super team, they're the best team ever, right? Yeah, exactly, AGDC, they're so good, they've spent 1.3 billion since Ferguson left, of course, they're a great team. Why is everyone selling James? That's a great question, I don't know why, and I talked about this in my transfer tips video. I think he's a keep, and that was before the news came out that he's pretty much fine for the game, for the weekend. I'd keep him, and yeah, he's completely fine now. Rudiger or Alonso? I still think Alonso, but yeah, I mean, at the moment, I would rather go for, you know, Reece James and maybe go for someone else in that place. Is it worth selling Vardy and Gallagher for Son? Where is it? Son? And Che Adams? No, not for me. I probably wouldn't do that, to be honest. I would rather have Gallagher than Che Adams, you know, comparing those at the same price points. And as for Vardy and Son, there's not much in it. Obviously, Son has better long-term fixtures, but would I be bringing him in right now? Probably not. Hwang to Dennis this week, or Jota or Bernardo in for Saar Benrahma? Good question, to be honest. I mean, you have to look at the fixture this game week as well, and I think Jota in for, Saar's injured as well, but you could get rid of either of them, to be honest. Yeah, I'd get Jota in. Benrahma's the greatest player, remember? Twexel loves him. Yeah, I mean, what happened? What happened with the hype? I mean, he just died down. I said that the other day, and here we go. You know, I just had emotions. Ronaldo's injured. He's a bit of a doubt, but he should be fine anyway. And if he doesn't play against Palace, he'll play the next game week. Your predicted City lineup. I mean, we've got a few City fans in the chat actually. They'd probably be in a better position to answer than me. But Ederson in goal. I think Cancelo will continue to start. Walker should be back in there, I believe, unless, let me actually double check this, but it's important to check all the press conferences and all the news. So let's check Man City. I think, yeah, everyone's available, isn't it, for City, except for Ferran Torres, who is actually going to be moving to Barcelona. But yeah, Kyle Walker's back. I think it'll be Kyle Walker and Cancelo starting. I think it'll be Diaz. Laporte is back as well. Laporte has been favoured this season. I think it will be Laporte again. Of course, I could be wrong, but that's what I would go with. I don't think they'll play that double pivot again of Fernandinho and Rodri. I think it'll be Rodri. Will Foden start? Yeah, I think Foden will start. Jesus or Mahrez? I think Mahrez will start as well. I don't know why. It's just kind of a gut feeling. He tends to play against Watford. Yeah. Grealish is back as well. It's interesting, isn't it? There's so many different possibilities with City. I think Sterling's in great form. So, yeah, it could be Sterling, Foden and Mahrez, if not Jesus. In the midfield, I think Bernardo Silva, Rodri, and you're probably looking at maybe Kevin De Bruyne. But, of course, I think City fans would give a much better prediction than I would. I think the only kind of doubt I would have is whether it's Mahrez or Jesus playing, but it could be any. Bernardo or Foden or Maddison? I'd say Bernardo if you're looking long term. Imagine Bernardo gets rotated. Yeah, I think it's a possibility. Everyone gets him in, and he just I think that's going to happen, AJ. To be honest, it's just typical. Roll the transfer of 0.4 million in the bank, says Manjon. Yeah, I don't think you need to make a transfer this week, to be honest. But yeah, I don't think you need to make a transfer. Honestly, yeah, I think I'd roll. King or Dennis this week? I prefer King, to be honest. I like Dennis too, but I'd go for King. I might change my mind in the coming weeks, but right now, if you're asking me, looking at penalties, the stats, and also AFCON, I think King edges it. Replacements for Vardy, it's definitely looking at Ronaldo, isn't it? Or Lukaku if he gets into some form, and then, of course, you can always downgrade to a King or a Dennis, and if not, maybe an Antonio, although I'm not that convinced by him at the moment. Sartor Smith Rowe, yeah, that's a good option. Also consider Bowen, Gallagher, and I mean, a lot of people are discounting Gallagher. I still think he's a good choice, but yeah, I think he's a good choice. T. Hemming, 541, 10k rank. I wouldn't be too concerned about playing a 5-4-1. I've done well with 5 at the back, and you can do the same thing. That's a decent team, to be fair. You want to get James, but don't want to lose Diaz. Yeah, but I think James's upside is that good that I probably would make the switch. And you've already got Cancelo to cover. Maybe consider getting rid of Alonso instead for James. I think I'd rather prefer that and keep Diaz. Rage transferred Mbuma for Bernardo. Sick of sight Mbuma. I would have done the same thing probably, maybe even ages ago. But yeah, you did the right thing there, Morley. Even if Mbuma does well, just forget about him. He's a thing of the past. Should I transfer out Sancho? If so, for who? I mean, if you have Sancho, I'd probably keep him. But I mean, yeah, I'm not that convinced about getting Sancho in immediately. But I'd keep him right now. Captain Foden, I'd captain Salah, honestly. But of course, that fixture is really good for City. I think there could be multiple goal scorers in this game, and City could win by 5+, to be honest. If you had Son, would you captain him? No, I wouldn't. Cancelo captain, I've been thinking about it, but after Salah's performance against Everton, there's no chance. Gallagher to Bernardo, I think that's a good choice, even though I like Gallagher and I would probably keep him. I think that's a good option to do. Top 3 differentials for the week. That's a difficult question. Let's actually look at the ownerships. Yeah, let's actually check this. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, wow. Okay. Really? They actually signed me out? Okay, anyway. Jesus. This could be quite funny sometimes. But, yeah, looking at differentials, I wanted to actually look at the ownership figures, but obviously, FPL like to act up sometimes. So let's actually get this up on another tab. So give me a second. I'll try to answer that question as well. I don't want to leave you hanging, but yeah, thank you very much, FPL. Yeah, can't reveal the details, can we? Alright, so Jesus Christ, this FPL website can be very funny sometimes. Anyway, new window. Yeah, alright, that's calm. Alright, apologies for this. Yeah, the FPL website can be very frustrating sometimes. That should be fine. Yeah, finally. Ooh. Alright, so top 3 differentials this week. Okay, this is interesting. So, alright, so looking at defenders, if there is any defenders that are worth mentioning as a differential. Okay. Damn, yeah. Yeah, honestly, defenders, I mean, there's probably someone escaping my mind right now, but I'm not really that impressed by most of them. Maybe Emerson Royale would be one. Let me check his ownership. 0.7. Yeah, he could be someone to think about against Norwich, but yeah, I don't want to force. I wouldn't say he's my top 3 differentials, but that's kind of like looking at defender. I'd go for probably Emerson Royale. Yeah, most of the team, I mean, maybe Walker. He's a bit higher owned, but yeah, he's another one. Midfielders. Let's try to get some here. Cornet could be a nice one. Yeah, Cornet. Let's check his ownership right now, but it's still relatively low, isn't it? He's more of a Twitter pick. Yeah, 3%. Cornet would definitely be up there. Cornet's one, no doubt about it. Against Palace, maybe you could say Sancho. Maybe, why not? But yeah, definitely. Oh, Mahrez. If he starts Mahrez, I could see a huge haul for Mahrez. So yeah, Mahrez and Cornet. Obviously, let's wait and see if he does start. And as for forwards, Jesus, nah, he's just under 10%. I wouldn't count him as a differential. Yeah, forwards is a bit difficult, isn't it? But yeah. Or Richarlison against Arsenal. Wouldn't be surprised if he scored, to be honest. Would cap off a very fantastic week for the Gunners. Yeah, I'd probably look at, the midfielders. Yeah, I'd just say, off the bat, Emerson Royale, Cornet and Mahrez. Those are my top 3 differentials for the week. Let's wait and see if any of them haul. Maybe I should make a note of it and then we'll see what happens from there. But yeah. Shout out to everyone just jumping in from Florida. Thank you, John, and good to see you on here once again. Arsenal defenders, yeah, I mean, if you don't have Ramsdale, maybe get Tomiyasu or Ben White, but yeah, I wouldn't really be too infused with Arsenal. Sarr and Benrahma out for ESR, and Bernardo or Jota. Which two? Bernardo and Jota, and yeah, don't get Smith Rowe. Ruben Dias, yep. I mean, long-term fixtures very good. I knew that when I got rid of him. I think he's a good choice, but he's not going to score every game week like he did against Villa. Start Livramento or Dennis? I would start Livramento. Which would you do first? Bring in Reguilon or take out Hwang? It depends who you bring in Reguilon for, but if you don't have King or... You know what? I'd probably bring in Reguilon first because the kind of replacements for Hwang, they don't have a great fixture this game week, in my opinion. How about Richie crossing in? Yeah, fair point, but I probably wouldn't go there, to be honest, and I just don't like any Newcastle assets, and, after this game week, poor fixtures. Emerson Peasant, don't disrespect Norwich. I mean, yeah, hopefully Norwich can get something, but yeah, no, the way Spurs are going, they'll probably keep pushing for the top four. Would you start Mbeumo or Duffy this week? Yeah, fair enough, that's a good point. I probably would start, Duffy, I guess, but I'm not really a big fan of either. If you look at the highest ceiling, you would say Mbeumo, but he's just never really delivered, has he? I have to delete Sarr. For who? Ramsdale's the most sensible option. I'd go for Ramsdale still. Top picks in for Rafinha and Vardy. I talked about this before. For Rafinha, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, and if not, looking at cheaper options, Gallagher's still really good, or Bowen. So get one of those four. Looking at Vardy out, it has to be Ronaldo in. If not, you're looking at someone cheaper, and I'd look at King or Dennis. Simple as. Ronaldo or Lukaku? Right now I'd say Ronaldo, but keep an eye on Lukaku. Should we get Ronaldo as a Man U asset for their run, or will he get less minutes? I think he will be rotated from time to time, so you have to bear that in mind. And for someone around 12 million, not really too sure, to be honest. But yeah, he is a good option, but let's not get carried away. I mean, Arsenal are just poor, let's be honest. I mean, and the penalty you got was a gift by Odegaard, so you got Odegaard to thank there. Mahrez has a good record against Watford, so if he starts, you had it here first. Yeah, and that's why I think he will start over Jesus, but I could be completely wrong. But yeah, I think you even said it, AJ. Pep loves this thing about, this guy's a good record against this team, let me play him. So yeah, that could be on the cards. Marcus says, hi mate, would you consider doing Rafinha to Bernardo Gundogan for a hit this week? Not for a hit, and I think Rafinha can do well, so I wouldn't do it for a hit, but it's not a bad option. Could have got King, but want more funds, and Dennis passes the eye test and decent-ish stats. Yeah, the stats are decent. He matches King for expected assists, but in terms of big chances and XG, he's far below King. Having said that, in terms of shots, despite the fact that King has played one game less, Dennis has some very impressive stats because he's kind of matching him. Keep Hwang and swap him next week. If not, you could just sell Hwang this week. I just don't really see him doing that well. Should I sell Vardy and Sissoko to Dennis and one of City's midfielders? Thank you. Message retracted. Start Livramento for Antonio or Gallagher or none? I'd probably start Livramento. That's what I'm doing at the moment, but I'm not convinced, mate. I mean, that could be 50-50 between all of them. Best Man City midfielder, Silva? I think so, but in the weeks to come, Gundogan and Foden could easily change my mind. How bad is Sarr's injury? I mean, something I read, I think he could be out for a few weeks. I'm not entirely sure, but he could have surgery or something like that. I mean, I need to double check that, but either way, I just sell Sarr if you have him, and I wouldn't be bringing him in. So simple as that. And if you want, one of their forwards, go for King or Dennis. Will Ronaldo start because he has a doubt on fantasy? I mean, it depends if he's fully fit and available. If he is, he will start, but just expect the odd rotation here and there, and they can do without him against Palace, I think, despite the fact that United... They struggle a lot to Palace, actually. Hopefully Palace can do something. Webster seems to be out for some time. Should I hold on to Duffy? I guess so. I mean, you don't have to make that a priority transfer right now, especially with Webster out, but let's wait and see. Livramento to Reguilon, do you think it's worth it? I think this game week it can definitely pay off, but Reguilon, is he a really good long-term purchase? I'm not so sure, but yeah, I think it's worth it. Ranieri going to bench Ronaldo from time to time, I think, but maybe too much has been made of that. Yeah, KJ, I answered your question already about Sarr. I'd get Ramsdale. Drop a like on the stream and subscribe, everyone. Thank you, The Galactic Hobbit. Much appreciated. Jimenez to Tony. If not King. I would rather go for King, to be honest, or Dennis. Dylan, would you say you're not too sure or too sure? Not too sure. I'd say I'm not too sure. Would you do Reguilon, Gallagher, Benteke to Lamptey, Bernardo, Dennis? You know what? I probably would, yeah. But don't get rid of Region this week. Don't do that. But yeah, I would look to do that in the coming weeks. But I think Region can do very well this week. Dylan, is it like I said or Lacazette? Like I said. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mohammed. Are you transferring anyone this game week? Probably not, Brian. And I'll save the transfer and have 2 heading into the next game week. Start Dennis, Benteke or Gallagher. I have Cancelo though. I'd start Gallagher. Best option to cover City defence other than Cancelo and Diaz? Probably Walker, I'd say. If not, I'd probably say Walker. Yeah, but I'd say Cancelo and Diaz is the best one to go for in that order. Watford looks so good for City attack, and I'd love a City midfielder, but for a hit, especially to take out Rafinha, not sure if it's worth it. As always, they could be benched in any game. All attackers back to bar Torres. Yeah, exactly. And even if City win big, it could be a number of different scorers and assisters. So it's not like maybe someone gets that many points. Having said that, I remember when they beat Watford 8-0 or something, Bernardo Silva scored a hat-trick. And that was at the Etihad, to be fair. But let's wait and see. Son or Ronaldo? I'd say Ronaldo. Is Eric Dyer a good replacement for Duffy? Yeah, he's not a bad one, but maybe consider holding Duffy because of the injury to Webster. Kane for Vardy? No, I wouldn't get Kane in. No chance. Bring in Watkins, Game Week 15, 2 free transfers tomorrow, and Rafinha, Jota to Sancho. Fair enough, and I wouldn't get Sancho over Jota. Just get Jota, mate. No doubt about it. Dylan, which transfer should I make? Sell Vardy and Sissoko to Dennis and one of City's midfielders. Or sell Vardy and Benteke to Broca and Ronaldo. Nah, yeah, get Dennis and a City midfielder like Bernardo Silva. Yeah, I'd do that, said Hindra, to be honest. Are you keeping Vardy until after the Newcastle match? I probably will, to be honest, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of keeping Vardy at the moment, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult with Vardy. Looking at it right now, he did really well against Watford, of course, but I expected him to, despite so many blanks in a row. Now facing Villa, I'm not that confident. Even if he starts, I think Villa could make things tough for Leicester. Let's wait and see. But the Newcastle game, I wouldn't mind having him for that. But other than that fixture, it's looking really bad for Leicester and Vardy, to be honest. Let's wait and see. But not really too promising. Anthony says, he puts his team, should I sell Kane for Ronaldo? Yeah, if not, do it next week. But as your team overall, I like Dennis. Tony's alright. Maddison's good for the next 4. Salah, Jota, Bernardo's very good. Reece James, Cancelo, Trent is fantastic. Ramsdale's calm. Alonso, let's wait and see. But yeah, I think Kane, you could sell him for Ronaldo next week. If you have 1 free transfer, hold it and then do it next week. Bring in Region or Dyer for Spurs? I would bring in Region. Why should I sell Duffy? Yeah, I said you could keep Duffy because Webster's going to be out for some time, it looks like. Otherwise, I'd say sell Duffy because he's not first choice. But because Webster's out, you can afford to maybe keep him. Are you sure that Livramento must start before Antonio? No, that's the honest answer. Thanks, mate. Hope you have a great game week. Thank you, Crispy Whiskers. Good luck to you as well. Force on James Maddison, considering him when I sell Rafinha next game week. Yeah, I mentioned him in my transfer tips video. I said he's a buy. And yeah, I think he's a decent choice for the next 3 or 4. After that, not too sure. I probably would rather go for a City midfielder instead if you want someone long term. See, I have 14 different goal scorers with Bernardo being the top goal scorer with 5 goals. Yeah, that's crazy. And I think Chelsea have something similar, if I'm not mistaken, around 15 different goal scorers. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too surprised. That's how City are. Would you keep Smith Rowe or go for Gallagher? Might do Vardy to King and Jota Bernardo in, but who to chop? I prefer Gallagher, but then again, I wouldn't get rid of Smith Rowe for Gallagher, especially with all the doubts surrounding Gallagher right now. So I just keep Smith Rowe and do Vardy to King and Jota Bernardo in. Yeah, I think I'd do that. And as for who to chop, I'm not sure because, yeah, I don't know which midfielder you'd be looking to get rid of other than Smith Rowe or Gallagher. I'm guessing you have both of them, but if you had to get rid of one midfielder, that's tough, to be honest. I prefer Gallagher, so I'd say get rid of Smith Rowe instead. But I like those transfer plans, yeah. So Edmer says, oh, wow. Okay, I'm not even going to say that last part of the sentence, Edmer's, but Smith Rowe in for Mbuma or Ramsdale for McCarthy? Ramsdale for McCarthy, I think, but obviously I don't like goalkeeper transfers too much. But either way, yeah, Mbumo's just a sell. Mbumo's a definite sell. You know what? Yeah, sell Mbuma for Smith Rowe. Do that. I'm captaining Son. Do you think it could pay off? It could pay off, but I'm not that sure about Son or Spurs in general, so I probably wouldn't do it. Good luck this week. In all honesty, I've had a terrible 3 weeks after 3 good ones. Gone from 100k to 27k, back to 90k. Mainly no Jota. Hopefully Arsenal actually take initiative and my team actually return. Don't trust Arsenal. That's kind of the moral of the story. Do not trust them, especially with Arteta. Yeah, good luck with you as well. And yeah, obviously that's kind of, a lot of people have had similar kind of trajectories to you. You know, they go up and down week on week. You know, just you have to take on the chin. You know, don't worry about it too much. Thanks, Dylan. Keep up the good work and good luck this game week. Come on, guys, hit the like and subscribe. Thank you, Sudindra. Good luck to you as well, and all the very best. Mike Dean versus Anthony Taylor versus Martin Atkinson. Thoughts? Atkinson's the worst, and Dean is awful. Anthony Taylor's not really good anyway, but you know, he's probably the least worst of the three, and that's not really saying much. Will Ronaldo play against Palace? I think if he's fit, he will play. If there's any risk of an injury, he can be on the bench, and either way, just expect a bit of rotation from time to time with Ronaldo. Bringing in Watkins from Gameweek 15. Yeah, I answered that already, Dr. Domino. Manjon, yeah, I did mention your team already. I say roll the transfer, to be honest. I don't think you have to do Livramento to Lamptey necessarily this game week. But yeah, just roll the transfer, Manjon. Smith or Jota? Jota. Tomiyasu to Cancelo or Livramento to Cancelo? If you have Ramsdale, sell Tomiyasu. Otherwise, yeah, maybe get rid of Livramento. But if I had to pick one, I'd rather keep Tino Livramento. Dylan, would you say we'll hit the target and score goals this weekend? Probably, the way this week is going. Smith Rowe's been doing way better than I expected. I hope he keeps it up. Yeah, same here, to be honest. And the kind of main problem with him is goal scoring, but he has upped it up a notch this season. I think he will not... It's tough to say, but I think his goal output will slightly decrease, but he will still be a good choice. Smith Rowe's been... Oh yeah, just said that. Thank you, the Galactic Hobbit, for moderating the chat. Should I sell Kane for Wilson? No, because Wilson's only good for one more game week and he's got one yellow card away from suspension. Don't do it. Play 1, bench 2, Dennis, Gallagher, Antonio. I'd play either Gallagher or Antonio. Not really sure about who, because I still have to think about that, to be honest. It's a 50-50. If you look at the fixture, it has to be Gallagher. He's got a much easier fixture. Which players will increase tonight? Let me have a double check. I don't want to give you just a random half-assed answer. So FPL price predictions. So let's check what FPL statistics say. So apparently, Dennis, Cancelo and Davis from Aston Villa, by the way, the budget striker, they're all going up today. Rudiger, Smith Rowe, Fornal, Salah, Reguilon, Cornet and Henderson are all on the brink of going up. Might not be today, might be in the coming days, but Dennis, oh Jesus, just punched my laptop. Dennis is probably going to go up, and Cancelo today. That's kind of the two main ones. So yeah, that's always just, type in FPL price rises. There's also Fantasy Football Fix. They also do, they have like a price prediction model as well. Thank you, Toby. Thank you as well. What are your transfer plans this game week? It's the roll. That's literally it. It's just the roll. Can't wait for the cup. I can wait, to be honest. Yeah, we'll wait and see. Do I captain Verstappen or Hamilton? I'd say Verstappen, but I think Hamilton will win this week, unfortunately, and FP1 and FP2 kind of showed that. I think qualifying and the race will be quite dangerous. I think there'll be quite a few crashes, maybe even red flags and safety cars, hopefully to Verstappen's benefit, but it's not looking good. I really don't like Mercedes, to be honest. First sub, White or Gallagher? I probably would say Gallagher. I have Ben Rama, I have to sell, but I don't know who to bring. In terms of who to get in, Gallagher, Bowen is definitely like two of the standouts you can go for. Rafinha has poor fixtures, so I wouldn't recommend him. It has to be one of those two. Smith Rowe's still a decent choice if you want to go there. If you have enough money, Abdullah, I'd go to Gundogan or Bernardo, and I'd go for Bernardo as my first choice. Keep Gallagher or change to Smith Rowe? I'd keep Gallagher, mate. Play 2 of Zaha, Smith Rowe, Dennis and Antonio. I would play Smith Rowe and probably Antonio. Ronaldo plus 4.5 million midfielder or Watkins and Sancho. If you already have another budget midfielder and you're going to get yet another one in, I would rather go for Watkins and Sancho. But otherwise, if that's your only kind of budget attacker, whether it's midfielder or attacker, I would go for Ronaldo in the 4.5. So hopefully you got that. Bench 1, Antonio, Gallagher or Dennis. I would probably look to bench Dennis, actually. Stop now to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, John. Much appreciated. Should I do Kane and Livramento to Lukaku and Chilwell and then bench Chilwell because I have Trent, James? There's no point getting... Yeah, I was trying to see if you're saying get in Chilwell or get him out, but yeah, I'm guessing you're saying get Kane and Livramento in. I would not get rid of Lukaku for Kane right now, if that's what you're saying. And if it's the other way around, I definitely wouldn't be getting Chilwell in because obviously he's injured. But yeah, your team's looking good. Yeah, you've got Kane in. No, I would not get Chilwell in. I don't see the point that he's injured. So yeah, don't get Chilwell. Looking at your defence, you've got Reguilon, James. Yeah, get Lamptey. Get Lamptey in instead for Livramento if you want to do that. But you don't have to get rid of Livramento this week. As for Kane to Lukaku, that's not a bad idea, but maybe just hold off for one more week. Your thoughts about Bowen in the next fixtures, please? I mean, I keep talking about Bowen. I think he's one of the best options from Game Week 16 onwards, especially 18. So, yeah. Do I think Bowen will be as good as some people advertise? No, but I think he'll be a really nice midfielder who ticks over nicely. And also don't forget Fornals. I mean, he's kind of under the radar. Sometimes he's the one who actually gives the returns and all the other West Ham attackers blank. So, you know, consider them. Captain Kane? No, it's a no for me. I want to be as concise and as blatant as possible. No chance for me. Thoughts on Arsenal game yesterday? Arsenal started the game off really well, were 1-0 up, had United pressed and pinned in their own half, and very organised. You know, I liked what I saw, but then Arsenal just dropped back, and you know they showed United way too much respect. And you know, it's just my opinion. I think United aren't a good team, especially with Michael Carrick, who's been there for 1 week. Arsenal had them for the taking. Poor finishing, same story as always, and they didn't take their chances. Didn't increase the lead. Martin Atkinson. The less said about him, the better. I want to keep this stream PG. That was a definite penalty by Maguire, but no consistency. He was quick to stop the game and check VAR for Odegaard's foul, which was obviously a foul and a penalty. But why didn't you do it for Maguire, who always gets away with these shirt tugs on Aspilicueta and all these people? He thinks it's a wrestling match, but it is what it is. It's Old Trafford, and they're always going to get benefited that way. Already changed Vardy to Ronaldo, Jimenez to Dennis, and Mbumo to Bernardo Silva. Have Sanchez, Trent, Rudiger. Yep, that's a good team. Nemanja, that's a good team. And I like that idea, even though it might be a bit too early, especially if Ronaldo does miss out through a doubt. But I like that. Jimenez to Dennis is a fantastic move, even if Dennis might blank this week. And Mbumo to Bernardo Silva, fantastic. I like those transfers. I think that looks really good. Should I sell Kane to spread money elsewhere? Maybe not this week, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. Kane just keeps blanking, but I think he will finally score. Having said that, I said that the week before, and the week before, and the week before. Smith Rowe or Lamptey as first subs? I would probably go for, that's a tough one, really tough. Maybe Smith Rowe first, Lamptey second. I'm not entirely sure about that one, though. I think both of them could do well. At the same time, though, both of them could easily blank. Is buying Ramsdale to rotate him with Sanchez a waste of money? I don't think it's a waste of money, but it might be a waste of a transfer, especially if you're planning to use a -4 or if you only have one free transfer. If you have two and you just don't know what to do with that transfer, then fair enough, go for it. But otherwise, you don't have to. Jimenez to Tony. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, but I would rather go for King or Dennis if you don't have them already. Triple Man City. Yep. Cancelo and Bernardo is enough for me, in my opinion. But you can always triple up. You can go for two defenders, Diaz and Cancelo, and a midfielder, or two midfielders, Gundogan and Bernardo, and Cancelo. Personally, I'd probably rather go with the double up in defence, even though they haven't really gotten the points. I have James, Cancelo, Trent, Johnson, Livramento, but want to do Livramento to Reguilon. Perfectly fine. Asan. Yeah, I'd probably do that. Yeah. You don't have to, but it's a good transfer. Thanks to an excellent streamers pair. Thank you very much, Chris Alfamoso. Bench Maddison or Alonso? Probably Alonso, especially if you have James. I probably would do that. Sell Duffy for Reguilon or Lamptey? I'd still say Lamptey, even though Reguilon's a good option too. Feel bad getting rid of Smith Rowe, but to be fair, I support Liverpool, so it's Jota all day long. Yeah, nah, if you don't have Jota and that's the only way to get him, do it. Thoughts on Gundogan? I think is a great choice. I still prefer Bernardo Silva slightly so far this season, but it's almost 50-50. I'm slightly leaning towards the Portuguese midfielder, but I could easily go to Gundogan in a few weeks' time. Which game are you excited for this week? Let me check the fixtures. Honestly, not any. Maybe West Ham Chelsea, I guess, but I'll be honest, I don't want to lie to people. I look at these fixtures and meh. Wolves Liverpool, we know who's probably going to win. Hopefully I've jinxed it, but yeah, Newcastle Burnley. there might be a lot of goals in that game, I guess. Southampton-Brighton, I could easily see a 0-0 or something like that, or a draw. Watford-City, I mean, how much are City going to win by? That's pretty much my question to you. Leeds-Brentford, yeah, I think that might be an interesting game just to see how that plays out. Man United-Palace, yeah, you probably would expect United to win that. Spurs-Norwich, once again, probably Spurs win. Villa-Leicester, that could be an interesting game. And Everton-Arsenal, move on. Yeah, honestly, I don't... Yeah, I mean, if you're excited for the games, fair enough, and obviously enjoy them, but I'm not really that impressed by any of them. Probably West Ham-Chelsea is the best one. Even then, West Ham haven't been that impressive recently. Let's see. Tony or Dennis as subs. I'd rather start Tony, and Dennis would be second in command there. Antonio for Watkins, yeah, but I probably would just keep Antonio at this point, and I'd rather have him than Watkins. Rashford, not for me. Let's wait and see, but not for me. Martinelli just returned 2 games in a row, 5.2 million. Yeah, that's worth considering. And let me actually double check this, but yeah, let's see. Oh, piss off. Yeah, I don't know why it does that, but yeah. Let's get back to the question. So, yeah, I mean, it's something to keep an eye on, but Arteta doesn't really like him in general. But Martinelli has shown he deserves to start. Should have scored against United yesterday, but a good performance. You know, someone who can actually hold his head up high after yesterday. Sanchez to De Gea? No, I'd rather keep Sanchez, honestly. Rashford or Sancho? I'd say Sancho, but I'm not convinced by either. I was thinking of bringing, let's try to get this back up, Ronaldo in for Kane in Game Week 16, but I won't be captaining Ronaldo over Salah. Then does it make sense to distribute funds? That's a good point. You can go for Jesus and Sancho or Rashford, but just because you're getting 2 players around 8-9 million, it doesn't mean they're better than, for example, Jota, Bernardo Silva, and even strikers like King or Dennis. But I like, what you're saying, and also because Salah kind of nullifies the captaincy, you don't have to go for Ronaldo. But having said that, you also have that kind of extra backup captaincy option in your pocket, and Ronaldo has the fixtures to, haul consistently over this period. But you don't have to, not go for Ronaldo just to get Jesus and Rashford and Sancho in, because, all of those assets that I've just mentioned, especially Sancho and Rashford, they're not really reliable FPL assets, at least up until now. Let's see how things evolve, but I think it's too early to say whether you should get Sancho or Rashford to cover Man United instead of Ronaldo. But I agree with your point on Ronaldo. He's not needed. He's not essential. I have Alonso and James. Should I play with both against West Ham or bench one? It depends who you're benching, who you're benching instead. But yeah, I think you could just play James and bench Alonso. Having said that, at the moment, I'm playing both of them. Not entirely confident, though. Force on Fred instead of a 4.5 million midfielder? No chance. Fred is awful footballer, and he's not going to get you attack and returns often. No. I'd rather get Henderson, around a similar price, and even then, I wouldn't waste this Liverpool spot on him. I just get a budget midfielder. I wouldn't go there. Start with Douglas Luiz over Livramento? No, I wouldn't. Obviously, Luiz did well last week, but not for me. Bench 2 of Antonio, Bowen, Mbeumo, Livramento. I think I answered this already, but once again, I probably would bench Bowen and maybe even Antonio. So, actually, you know what? Mbeumo's trash. I bench Bowen and Mbeumo. Sell Rudiger for Region? I can see why you're doing it, but not too convinced by that, mate, to be honest. I probably wouldn't. Kane to Ronaldo, yep, either this week or next week. It's up to you what you do there, but I would probably do that. Let's see. Let's actually check what I was trying to see beforehand. So, yeah, so Martinelli, yeah. As a midfielder as well. It's weird how they classified as a midfielder this game. Obviously, last time he was a forward, but that'll be interesting to see. That'll be interesting to see. Hey Dylan, aren't you tired of these obvious questions? Not necessarily, but obviously, some questions naturally are going to be repeated because some people join in later. But yeah, the only time I say I get tired is when you answer a question and then the same person asks the same question again. But I don't think it's happened too much today. Hopefully I haven't jinxed it there. I'm not sure who to bring in, Gundogan or Bernardo. Bernardo for me. Thoughts on my team this week? Ramsdale, Trent, James, Cancelo, Reguilon, Salah, Son, Jota, Foden, Bernardo, Watkins. It's a good team. Watkins is someone I'd mainly be looking at from Game Week 17 onwards rather than right now, to be honest. But it's a good team overall. I think you're in a good place, especially with Foden and Bernardo this week and Cancelo. That triple up against Watford could cause some serious damage. Do you think Bernardo Silva starts? Fantastic question. I wish I knew the exact answer to you. Let's actually check. If you're asking me right now, do I think he starts? I think yes, but I could easily see a rotation coming within the next 3 game weeks. I just don't know when it's going to happen exactly, but let's actually get this up. So yeah, thanks for the tutorial. So according to starting 11, and you're able to vote for, who starts and everything, Bernardo Silva is at 96% odds to start the game. And he has started the last 5 games, I think, in the Premier League, isn't it? So that's actually crazy if that's true. But yeah, Bernardo Silva. I mean, the rest has to come at some point. That's the thing. And Watford, City can afford to bench Bernardo Silva. They can put De Bruyne in to replace him. Wow, what a downgrade, isn't it? So don't be surprised if he is benched, but I still like Bernardo long term. Thank you, Thomas, for the shout. Should I play Livramento or Gallagher? Honestly, I would play... At the moment, I'm playing Livramento, but I'm 50-50 on it, and I might change from now to the deadline. Tony to King have 2 free transfers, but have no one worth dropping. Interesting. Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one to do now, because I think Tony is probably more likely to get points than King this week. So I'd probably hold, maybe make a transfer elsewhere, maybe a goalkeeper transfer. That might be the way to go and not absolve it. But otherwise, sometimes, burning a transfer is the right thing to do. You don't have to use every single one. King in for Antonio and Bernardo in for Cornet. That looks perfectly solid to me. Just bear in mind that Antonio has good fixtures soon and could do very well. So sad that Reguilon is the only likeable Spurs asset in December. Sure, Son is fine, but returning little for 10 million. Yeah, and even the bonus points and, the kind of double-digit returns, they're not really that frequent like they were last season. Son and Kane have just dropped off a cliff. Thank you very much for the super chat from True Fan Della, or Della. Obviously, hopefully I haven't butchered that. Bench, Antonio, Tony, Benteke. In terms of prioritising it in order, Tony first, Antonio second, and Benteke third. I definitely would put Tony first because of the fixture. Having said that, of course, he has been very disappointing this season. But yeah, I will do that in that order. Thank you very much for the super chat. You didn't have to, but much appreciated nonetheless. I might beef up my midfield instead of getting Ronaldo. Yeah, I looked at my midfield a few weeks ago, and even I think last week when I got Gallagher in, and I couldn't just afford to have another week of Townsend. And yeah, I agree with you. The midfield is very important. It's important to have a good midfield in there. Alonso, Lamptey, Cancelo, James, Arnold. Who should I bench? If you had to bench one, that's tough. I would go for either Alonso or Lamptey. I'd definitely start the rest. The others shouldn't be in the equation. Yeah, it's between Alonso and Lamptey. I'm not sure exactly who from those two, to be honest, but because you already have James, maybe I'd lean towards more, benching Alonso. For the future, when are you going to get rid of Salah due to AFCON? It'd be a week or two before, basically the week it starts, the African Cup of Nations starts, but I wouldn't want to get rid of him before that because he can still haul. So as soon as it comes about, the African Cup of Nations, I'd look to sell him and then bring him back in 2 or 3 game weeks' time. Thoughts on Smith Rowe as an Arsenal fan? Non-FPL perspective. Okay, well, I think I mentioned him before. He's improved his goal scoring this season, and that's why a lot of people are taking more notice of him. But he's always been this impressive ball carrier, and he's creative, but not as creative as some people would lead you to believe. Arsenal still have a huge void creatively, and they need more creativity in there, of course, and quality. But he has been doing very well. He's probably been one of the shining lights this season, and I can't really hold much against him. Even though he didn't play that well yesterday, he's still in there, still got the goal, and still very impressive. Thank you very much to Chuka, just to show his support for the amazing content. Much appreciated, mate, and you didn't have to, but you're a legend. Same with True Fan Della. Oh, Della. But thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Good luck with this game week. Good luck with the rest of the season, and hopefully some green arrows for you, and also just enjoying the football. By the sounds of it, I'm probably not going to enjoy it that much. Not a big fan of the fixtures this week, but let's wait and see. You never know. You can't always look at the fixtures because sometimes the big games are the ones that disappoint, and then a game between 2 kind of mid-table teams ends up being the thriller. Livramento and Havertz to James and Saka from -4. I would not bring in Saka, but I do like getting in James. I'd do that. I'd probably take the hit, but don't get Saka. I would look at either Jarrod Bowen, possibly even Conor Gallagher, and if you have enough money, I would go for Bernardo Silva, no doubt about it. And of course, if you don't have Jota and you have enough money, definitely get Jota in. Could Reguilon be part of the new template? Spurs can only improve under Conte. I'm playing 5 at the back. I mean, they just played Brentford. Let's put it into perspective. Yes, Reguilon can be a good option. He is a good purchase. He's a good option for the long term even. But some of the fixtures coming up for Spurs are quite tricky. And Spurs still have those same defenders that are error prone and that are poor. So I still don't expect consistent clean sheets from them. Having said that, Reguilon is the pick of the bunch from Spurs defence. And he is a good choice, as you rightly highlight. But I don't think you have to get him in, and even if the template, starts to include him in it, I'm not necessarily sure you have to have him. You can cover him with a midfielder instead, or even a Lamptey and someone else, and I think you'll be perfectly fine. But you make a good point there. Tony or King? I'd say King, to be honest. Would you consider transferring out Vardy out for Ronaldo this week? No, because I don't have enough money, and I'm not taking a hit to get him Ronaldo, who is still technically a doubt for this week. Rafinha to Bernardo or save transfer? I'd save transfer, even though I'd be very tempted to get Bernardo in. But Rafinha can do well this week. And then you have 2 free transfers, and then you can, have more flexibility. Is Benteke still an option? He is still an option, but I would rather go for King or Dennis, to be honest. And I'd keep Gallagher to kind of cover Palace, unless he continues to, just not show enough. Captain Salah or Jota? Just Captain Salah. I want to keep it simple there. Yeah, in terms of Brandon, who asked the question, I'd bench Alonso if I had to bench one. Next week, Rafinha to Bernardo or Saint-Maximin to King or Reguilon to Diaz. Next week, definitely, I'd say Saint-Maximin out for King. Definitely, no doubt about it. And I still would prefer Diaz over Reguilon, but you don't have to make that transfer. But definitely do Saint-Maximin to King next week. Who should I replace for King? Tony or Antonio? Tony has good fixtures coming up, but Antonio's long-term fixtures are better, and I'd rather keep him. So I'd say sell Tony. Would you consider Yeah, answered that already. Is Gundogan fit? Yes, he is. Everyone for City is available except for Ferran Torres. Status of James and Ronaldo. James is fully fit. I mean, Chelsea reported the injury to Trevor Chalobah, but he said, Thomas Tuchel said everyone else is fine. That includes Jorginho and Reece James. As for Ronaldo, we don't know yet. Let's wait and see. Duffy to Reguilon or Mbeumo to Smith Rowe or Rafinha to Bernardo. This is killing me. Also, force on getting Wilson. I got him game week 13. I'd look to sell after this game week, so keep him for this week. Sell Wilson next week. As for the other transfer plans, Duffy to Reguilon's fine, but Duffy could actually start, being relatively nailed again. So just wait on that one. Mbeumo, get rid of him. Yeah. So basically, to kind of make things simple, get rid of Wilson from next game week onwards, so not this game week. Rafinha to Bernardo, don't do it this week. Do it next week from game week 16 onwards. Mbeumo to Smith Rowe, you can do it right away. Start Mbeumo or Armstrong. I would probably start, that's tough, probably Armstrong. What's Pepe's situation now? Just sitting on the bench. He's not really, even when Arsenal are coasting in an easy game like Newcastle, they don't bring him on. So yeah, just don't forget about him. FPL wise, he shouldn't even be in the conversation. And yeah, he's just not really going to be counted on. Dylan, I had Son and Jimenez changed to Bernardo and Ronaldo. -4. What do you think? Yeah, I think that's fine. That's perfectly fine, to be honest. Son could do well this week against Norwich, and Jimenez could notch a goal against Liverpool, but honestly, long-term, Bernardo's a good choice, and Ronaldo possibly as well. Ramsdale, Sanchez, who to start this week? I'd probably go for Sanchez. Not much in it. Are you going to keep Antonio for the long-term? Probably I will, even though I'm not a big fan of him at the moment. Oh, so some great questions coming in. What do you think of my team, Dylan? Says Sudindra, I think I talked about your team already, but I like it. Rafinha from Game Week 16 onwards, get rid of him. Your defence is fine. You don't really need to make a change there. Although, if you can find a way, get Cancelo in for Diaz. I just think Cancelo is much better. Wilson, get rid of him as well from next week onwards. Yeah, Rafinha and Wilson from Game Week 16 onwards, get rid of them. And yeah, start to get in the likes of Joshua King or Dennis, and get in a City midfielder like Bernardo Silva. The rest is fine. How funny will it be if Antonio scores a penalty or something after these blanks and he hauls on all of our benches? It'd be very funny, to be honest, but typical. Typical. And Antonio isn't a great penalty taker, so that would be quite frustrating, isn't it? Bench Antonio or Smith Rowe? I would probably bench Antonio. Who is the best striker for 7.7 million? I would probably say Joshua King or Dennis. I don't want to sound like a a rewinded tape, I'd probably say that. Which club do you dislike the most? There's too many to name, but I'd say Spurs, United, definitely up there. I don't like Chelsea either. Shout out to all the members and Dylan RCM fans. Thank you very much, John. And that's a member for 2 months. Much appreciated, John. And long may it continue. Thank you very much for deciding to join in the community. Let's try to get through some of the questions that I missed up later or further up the pack. Hwang or Saint-Maximin? Saint-Maximin this week. Sell both of them from next week onwards. Who should I replace for Bernardo? Rafinha, Cornet or Gallagher? I think, look, this game week I wouldn't get rid of Rafinha, but I'd rather keep Cornet and Gallagher longer term, so it has to be Rafinha. So don't do it this week, Oliver. Do it next week. Do Rafinha to Bernardo. Best goalkeeper for now, I'd say Ramsdale. Hello, Dylan. Is Salah still the captaincy choice over Kane? Definitely. Kane hasn't shown anything. I don't care about the fixture, to be honest. I think Salah's the way to go. Sarr De Gea. De Gea has great fixtures for, up until February, really, but I would still probably not go for him. Transfer out Dennis for. I would not be getting rid of Dennis, to be honest. I mean, the fixtures are good after the City game. I wouldn't do that. Hwang, Dennis or Livramento. To start this week, I'd start Livramento. Start Jimenez or Livramento. Livramento. Bench, Saint-Maximin or Hwang. Bench Hwang, mate. Hwang replacements, I have Tony and Antonio already. King or Dennis. Easy. Easy as. Is it worth wildcarding next week for at least 6 transfers? I think so, mate. If not, you can do Game Week 16 where there's a lot of... Wait, am I bugging? It is Game Week 15 now. Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. Yeah, if I had a wildcard, I probably would be looking to using Game Week 16. Do you prefer King or Dennis? King. What is the FPL Cup? Basically, so when it opens, the top scoring, I'm not even sure how many, but you have to reach a certain rank for the game week. So bear that in mind. It's not your overall rank, it's your game week rank. So if you have a poor game week, you could actually miss out on the FPL Cup, even if you're in the top, few thousand or hundreds. Then you start facing random people, and it's basically a straight knockout, and whoever gets more points qualifies to the next round. And if you win the whole thing, you get some prizes, but yeah, there's not much to it. What about King? I mean, I've been talking about it all day. I think he's a great option. Bernardo will start. I hope so. I think he will. Let's wait and see. Yeah, don't worry, Thomas. You don't have to donate anything, but thank you very much, mate. Thank you. I wasn't expected to answer your question. Yeah, I try to answer as many questions as possible. Obviously, right now, for example, is quite hectic, but yeah, Bernardo will start because Pep said that he's the best player in City right now. Yeah, but he will get a rest eventually, you would suspect. Obviously, if not, then fair play. Either way, I want him. So, how do you rate Leicester defence? Awful. Wouldn't go near. And especially with the fixtures coming up, yeah, I will stay clear. When is the last time to use the wild card? I think it's game week 18, if I'm not mistaken. But as soon as the second half of the season kicks in, your first wild card is gone. So if you haven't used it, that is basically dissolved. And then if you use your second wildcard in game weeks 19 or 20, that's your second wildcard gone, and bye-bye, no more. Sanchez or Ramsdale? This week Sanchez. Overall, I prefer Ramsdale. Do you prefer King or Dennis? Answer this question, mate. No need to spam the chat. Thanks, Dylan. Good night and good luck to you and everyone for Game Week 15. Thank you, Sidindra. Thank you for tuning in for so late, as always, and good luck with this game week. Rafinha for Smith Rowe? Yeah, I think that's fine. But don't do it this week. I'd keep Rafinha this week. Do it next week in Game Week 16. I had Ronaldo captain for the previous game week and got 20 points. So happy. I mean, fair play. You can thank Odegaard for that. And fair play. Bowen will cause problems on the left side of Chelsea. I hope so. Thinking about getting him this week for Gallagher. Yeah, I mean, fair play. Yeah, I can see what you're doing there, but I probably would just keep Gallagher. That's my personal opinion. But if you think that, if you have a gut feeling, go for it. Trust it. EPR is 300 plus players, but it's usually the same 20-25 players in every team, and enough thoughts. Kind of makes the game dull. Yeah, I think UCL Fantasy, for example, there are arguably fewer players in the game, but there are more choices that you can go for. So that's why UCL Fantasy is a bit more wide open and maybe a bit more interesting, at least this season. But yeah, FPL can be very dull if everyone picks the same players and the template's so strong, but it is what it is. And there will always be some differences, whether it's the captaincy, although maybe not this season, but normally the captaincy is kind of a differentiator in itself. Son or Cornet for the long term? Son, I'd say, but I'm not a big fan of either right now. Hwang replacements, I answered this question already, Ibrahim. I would go for King or Dennis. Play one from Antonio, Mbeumo, Gallagher. I would probably go for Gallagher or Antonio. It's one of them for sure. Keep an eye on João Pedro as a differential. Yeah, that could be one to look out for. I'm still mainly looking at, for example, King and Dennis, but that could be something to look at. Yeah, Avista answered your question, mate. Is it worth having a premium 11 plus million forward if I'm going to captain Salah every week? It's still worth it potentially, just because of how many points Ronaldo can get you over those really good fixtures, but it's not essential, so you don't have to. What do you think about Reguilon? I think he's probably the best around 5 million. Having said that, you don't have to get him, and if you are getting rid of a good asset like Lamptey or Livramento or one of those premium defenders like James, just don't do it in my opinion. Livramento arguable, but not the rest. Welcome Chelsea Blues. Maddison or Rafinha over Gallagher? The thing is, I'd rather keep Gallagher long term. Rafinha is good for this game week, but I wouldn't get him in. It's just I'd be looking to sell him in game week 16. As for Maddison, good for 4 game weeks, but I'd probably just keep Gallagher. If I had to pick one, I'd go for Maddison because he has more good game weeks to come, or fixtures, shall I say. Says Thomas. Yeah, I know. Yeah, some of the same questions. I tried to not go through the same questions that I've already answered, but like I said, some people do join late, but yeah, I've already answered a lot of these questions. Would you start Rudiger or Livramento? I already have James starting. I would maybe go for Livramento, but it ultimately depends what you think is going to happen in that West Ham-Chelsea game. I think West Ham could score. That's why I'm a bit uncomfortable with benching Antonio, but I maybe would go for Livramento. I might be completely wrong. What's your suggestion? 0.4 million in the bank. Says Kunal. Kane to Ronaldo next week is definitely something you can look at. You don't have... Oh, you got Bernardo and Jota. Your midfield's fantastic, mate, to be honest. Defence. Yep, you got Trent in there. Yep, I mean, that's a fine team. I think Kane to Ronaldo is pretty much what you can do. Whether it's this week or next week is up to you, Kunal. Brought in Dennis and Jota this week and played Dennis. Glad I picked him over King. I can deal with AFCON in a month's time. Yeah, fair enough. I still think King, at least statistically, is better. He's got penalties and no AFCON, but yeah, I mean, Dennis has been more clinical. Is it good to go Bernardo in for Gallagher -4? Yeah, I think so. Having said that, you can also keep Gallagher. I still think he's a good option. For the overall cup, no need to worry. Basically, everyone will qualify. Top 8.4 million. Fair enough. I think in recent years, it was something a bit hard. I think it was top 4 million at one point, and I don't even want to say. I think I missed out. Even though I was doing really well in the season, I had one game week. I think the week where we had to qualify for the FPL Cup, it happened to be the week where Spurs versus Fulham was called off, and I had triple Spurs or double Son and Kane in there, and yeah, I just had a disastrous week. I was down to 8 or 9 men. Crazy times. Antonio or Tony out? I'd say Tony because Antonio has good fixtures long term. De Gea 3.9 keeper. Arnold. Yeah, that's a good team, Mal. You've got most of the midfielders I would recommend. As for your attack, that's pretty fine as well. You've got that bench fodder option in Davis. Your defence is also pretty decent, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's quite good. Not a big fan of De Gea, but with those fixtures, I can see why I went for him. I think that's fine. I wouldn't really recommend anything right now. I wouldn't change anything as of yet. Livramento or Alonso out for Reguilon? Tough one. I'd probably say Livramento, but yeah, I wouldn't go absolutely big at the back. I still would just go for 4 or 3 medium to mid-price defenders and have one budget in there. Will it be a good idea to use the wildcard after this game week? Yes, definitely. Would you sell Jota when Firmino's back next week? Probably not. I'd probably keep Jota at this point. Smith Rowe, Mason Mount, Smith Rowe. Townsend to who? Any suggestions, please? Already have Jota and Gallagher. I don't know how much money you have to play with, but Bernardo Silva if you can afford it. If not, go for Bowen. I think simple as. Gallagher's done as an FPL asset, going down in price tonight as well. I don't necessarily agree. Obviously, if this trend continues, then yes, he is done. I won't want him in my team, but I'm not too sure. You know, people said this back in game week 8 or 9. Then look what he did against City and Wolves. I don't necessarily agree with that. Bench Gallagher and Alonso. Probably a Gallagher. Should I do Kane to Ronnie next week if Kane continues to blank? Definitely, Kobe. Yeah, I'd probably look to do it very soon. Thank you, Galactic Hobbit, for moderating the chat. Jimenez and Gallagher out for Bernardo and Watkins. That's fine, yeah. I would rather go for King or Dennis once again than Watkins, but Watkins is looking really good from game week 17 onwards. Do you think Wissa starts for Brentford? Honestly, mate, I'm not too sure if he will. King or Dennis? I believe King, but obviously if you look up until now, Dennis has been better. He's got more goal contributions, but on penalties, King, he's got better stats and no AFCON. But of course, it's not as simple as that. Dennis has more goal contributions this season. In terms of shots, they're quite identical. And also, Dennis is cheaper. Having said that, on the other hand, King has 10 big chances. Dennis has 3. So it's a tough one, Tough one. Play Antonio over Livramento. I am thinking of it, mate. Yeah. Would you start Rudiger or Livramento? I already have James starting. Answer this question, Tech. I don't know why you repeated it, but I would go for Livramento, I guess, even though I'm not entirely sure. The African Cup of Nations could shake a few teams. Have we got a few weeks, around 3 weeks? I think Salah, for example, would only miss 2 to 3 game weeks. I think it's 2. So it's not that bad. But yeah, Liverpool are fine. I think they face like Brentford and Palace, I believe. So they're really not going to struggle that much without Salah. Antonio, Dennis or Hwang this game week? Antonio. Is Diego Dallo a good buy for the short term? I wouldn't get him, honestly. I just wouldn't get him. But yeah. Do your friends watch your stream? Yeah, a few of them do. A few of them have popped up today, for example. King and Dennis double up for the decent run. Yeah, I think that's not a bad shout, to be fair. All the points are in midfield and defence. Only team to score against Chelsea in open play in the home fixture. Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's actually a reasonable thing to do. I mentioned it earlier. Having said that, I would still just go for 1, but it's not really a bad idea, to be honest. Rudiger may be rested anyway. Unlikely, though. Nah, I think it's a huge game. West Ham are going to be well up for it. It's a London derby. I don't think he'll be rested. Antonio or Armstrong? Starting this week, looking at the fixture, you would probably say Armstrong, but I actually would go for Antonio. Smith Rowe or Mason Mount? Smith Rowe. Statistically, King is better, I agree, but surely the stats of Dennis's attacking returns are the most important. Yeah, they are the most important, but you also have to think, are they going to be sustainable long term? Having said that, we've already had 14 game weeks gone by, so maybe it is. I think Dennis and King, I'm keeping an eye on both of them, and whoever I'm more impressed by, and by the time we get to that stage where I actually make that transfer up front, if Dennis continues to impress, I'll go for him. But as of now, I am leaning more towards King, but obviously it's not as clear cut as, King is better or Dennis is better. I think they're quite similar level. Penalties can easily sway it because against Leicester, for example, King did nothing, but that penalty, may ensure that he got that return. Opinions on Watkins? I think he's someone to look at from Game Week 17 onwards, but right now I'm more looking towards the Watford assets, but he is good. Evening, are you considering getting a City mid? And if so, who? Yeah, I am. It's going to be between Gundogan and Bernardo, I believe. And right now, I'm going for Bernardo. He'll probably be coming in for Game Week 16 for Rafinha. De Gea, Ramsdale's already 4.9. I'd still go for Ramsdale. Smith Rowe for Havertz. It's not a bad option. I'd rather go for Smith Rowe than Havertz. Having said that, Bowen, possibly Gallagher, I would prefer over Smith Rowe. And of course, if you can afford, you can afford it, I'd go for Bernardo Silva or Jota to replace Havertz instead. Liverpool are playing as if the players are being fed Red Bull. Yeah. Do you think they can win treble this year? No, I don't think they can. I don't think they have the squad depth to do so. And yeah, no, I mean, you look at the Premier League right now, it's so tight between City, Chelsea and Liverpool. Can Liverpool win the league? Yes, but can they win the league and the FA Cup and the Champions League? No, because they tend to sacrifice the FA Cup. And when you look at the Champions League, they have a good chance in that. They could maybe win the Premier League and Champions League, but I think the chances are slim. I think it will be kind of shared. So, I don't know, maybe City win the league, maybe Liverpool win the Champions League, something like that. I don't see them winning all of them. Start Gallagher or Dennis? I'd start Gallagher. Kane to Ronaldo now or next week? I'd do it next week, but you could easily do it now, and I don't think you'd mind too much. When will Ronaldo rise in price according to you? I mean, I'm not a price prediction expert. Let's actually check Ronaldo. But yeah, I think by game week 16, that's when most people will be getting him. In terms of FPL statistics, they have him at 78.5% at rising. So I think before the game week 16 deadline, he will rise, but not before the game week 15 one tomorrow. But let's wait and see. The FPL headquarters, they don't normally operate exactly the same way as these kind of price prediction sites do. So obviously just take that with a pinch of salt. Would you hold Mount if you had him or get Bernardo Silva in? Get Bernardo Silva in, Aranya, no doubt. I want to transfer out Sarr for either Ramsdale or De Gea. I'd go for Ramsdale. Do you think James will play? Yes, Kobe, and he's available now. I just don't really see a scenario where he's benched or not playing. Keep Kane or get Son? I'm not a big fan of either right now, but of course Son has been better this season. I'd rather have Son than Kane, but having said that, I wouldn't go for either. Who should I start? Dennis, Hwang or Mbeumo? Oh, that's tough. Probably Mbeumo because of the fixture. But yeah, Dennis and Hwang, especially Dennis, has been much, much better this season. Who to bench first? Williams, Johnson or Brownhill? Good question. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't really think it matters. I probably would say either Brownhill or Williams first. I put Johnson third because I think Chelsea will score a few goals. Having said that, West Ham can make things difficult for Chelsea. They could even keep a clean sheet, maybe, but I don't know. I do rate Chelsea's chances in that game. It's a tough one. I'm really not sure about that one. Start Gallagher or Tomiyasu? I'd start Gallagher. Do you think Jesus is a good option? Yes, but it could be Mara starting against Watford. He's got a great record against them. Agreed, penalties are key, and they're looking a bit more frequently given than at the start of the season. True, but having said that, it's not really given as much as, for example, last season, especially at the beginning. But yeah, that's a good point. And look, it's tough between King and Dennis. I'm open-minded about it, just like I am with Gundogan and Bernardo. Right now, I think Bernardo and King are better, but stats aren't everything. They definitely aren't. Hey Dylan, just got back from football. How's it going? And what's the move this week? No moves, mate. And yeah, I'm just going to be saving it for Game Week 16. And it's going pretty well. Hopefully it's going well for you too. Also, can't forget how you're doing. Yep, doing well. Overall, pretty happy. Hopefully F1 goes pretty decent, but yeah, I'm not really expecting much. Who do you think is more important next few game weeks? Alonso or Bernardo? Definitely Bernardo, mate. Definitely. Rudiger or Dennis? Rudiger. Son captain too risky? It's risky, but either way, I just wouldn't go for it. I'd rather go for Salah. That's my personal opinion. Life and football and FPL is about taking risks sometimes, but I probably wouldn't do it this time. Last week I was going to get Reguilon over Alonso, but ended up getting Alonso. Yeah, I thought Alonso was the better option as well. So far he hasn't been. And yeah, I think with Reece James coming back though, Chelsea will improve and they will start getting the clean sheets again. Having said that though, across the course of the season, Chelsea have been a bit fortunate with some of their clean sheets, like Brentford, for example. But let's wait and see. Who's the best pick under 6 million as a striker? King or Dennis? Take your pick there. Either of them are good. UCL fantasy videos coming out soon, probably over the weekend. Captain Salah or Son? Salah, easily. Maddison or Silva? Silva, easily. Yeah, I've got Dennis second bench this week, but considering dropping Rudiger to bench and playing Livramento or Dennis, yeah, I'm looking at the same thing, Carl. I would probably be tempted to play Livramento. For City's good fixture run coming, Bernardo or Foden? I mean, normally I'd prefer Foden, but just at the moment I'd go for Bernardo Silva. Should I get Bernardo for Saka or roll this week and get the best City mid next week? I would get Bernardo Silva in right now, Adam. Just bear in mind there could be rotation, but I would go for him. Yeah, Mahmood, I answered your question already, mate. Arsenal fan since? Since, I could remember, watching football, to be honest. Best memory is celebrating the league title win in 2004. Even though I was very young, I still remember it because it was that good of a memory. Who should I put the vice captaincy on, Kane or Cancelo? Cancelo for me. It doesn't really matter anyway, unless Salah's benched and doesn't come on, but I would say Cancelo. Son or Ronaldo, what do you think will score more goals in the coming game weeks? Ronaldo. And is Lukaku on your watch list? Yes, he is. He's been on my watch list since he's been back and available, but I wouldn't go for him yet. Just did Livramento to Lamptey and Huang to Dennis. Love the videos. Keep it up. Thank you, Jack Knows Football. I like the Dennis move long term. And yeah, Livramento to Lamptey is something I'm thinking of doing myself. Might seem a bit sideways this week, but I think long term is probably the right thing to do. Is Lukaku going to become an option again? I believe so, Yusuf. Yeah, I think so. Start one in Mbeumo versus Gallagher. I still start Gallagher. Maybe I'm being a bit stubborn. I'd go for him. Lloris in for Gaeta. No. I would rather just get either Ramsdale, Sanchez, maybe even De Gea, but I wouldn't get Lloris. If you want a Spurs defensive cover, go for Reguilon. Triple captain Salah this game. I don't think it's the best fixture to triple captain him. Having said that, though, he could easily, produce big. It's back your gut with these decisions, but personally, I don't think it's the best time. Welcome, Mo. Thank you for tuning in. Which keeper should I choose? At the moment, I have Gaeta, Alisson, Lloris, De Gea. Yeah, for me, Ramsdale and Sanchez. And don't go for, a 4.5 to 5 million and an expensive keeper like Alisson. I think you're spending way too much money on your goalkeepers. I want to get Gundogan, but KDB back. Just like last year, he plays in a much deeper role once KDB is fit. And weirdly, City always seem better without KDB. I don't think always, but yeah, this season they have been looking better without him. And KDB has just been sluggish. He hasn't been at the races. But of course, when he's at his best, he is such a great player. Yeah, fair enough. I can understand why you want to get Gundogan in. But yeah, I think Gundogan actually plays better when KDB isn't there as well. That's a funny thing, but yeah, it's an interesting one to see. I would rather go for Bernardo right now, but it's 50-50. Start 2, bench 2, Antonio Diaz, Dennis Gallagher. Definitely start Diaz this week, mate, and I'd probably start either Gallagher or Antonio. Choose one to start from Tony, Mbumo, Antonio, Lamptey. And what's the bench order? I would start Tony, I guess, and Lamptey first. I'm not too sure about that one. Antonio second and Mbumo third. Can easily backfire no matter what you do, Adil. Vardy to Watkins to make way to Brownhill to Bernardo. Just worried about spreading my funds too thin, as my midfield would be Son, Jota, Salah, Smith Rowe and Bernardo. Yeah, and also if you have 3 forwards already, Carl, you're going to have, once again, the benching headaches every week. And it's good to have good squad depth, but you'd still want maybe one bench fodder, like a Douglas Luiz, for example, and then you have fewer decisions to make with your team selection, because as you can see right now with my team, I don't have 8 attackers yet. I still have benching headaches. Do I go with Livramento on the bench, Antonio or Gallagher? It's a tough one. And actually, let me put a poll out right now and see what you lot are saying. Obviously, I'd appreciate if you all vote. It's up to you. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one, my final decision, and I still haven't fully decided. But other than that, I think I'm going to keep it simple. No transfers this week, but the bench order and who comes into my starting 11 is still crucial. So who would you start? Only one of them is able to start. You could even arguably put Alonso into this conversation, to be honest, but you know what? I probably won't. I probably will start him regardless, even though it hasn't really been too good recently. So let's actually go for this. So who would you start out of these 3 players? Livramento, Antonio, or Gallagher? Let's see. Should I bench Benteke or King? I would probably bench King, and the reason why I say that is because I think City could keep a clean sheet and they tend to batter Watford, absolutely batter them. I will sell Rafinha next game week. Let me try minimize this. Yeah, but Man City has a good game now, so should I do the transfer now? I probably would do it next week, Bacon. But you can do it now, and it isn't the worst decision in the world no matter what you do, but I would probably hold Rafinha this week. Start Ben White or Mbumo? I'd start Ben White, probably. Darby to Region for a hit? No, I wouldn't do it for a hit. Sanchez or Gaeta? Sanchez. Thank you, Thomas, for the shout out. And as he says, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. If you haven't already, it really helps out the channel. And thank you to everyone who sent in super chats today and also became channel members and everything. Much appreciated. And also everyone who's voted, everyone who's liked the video already, who's followed me on Twitter and Instagram, who's subscribed. All of it is much appreciated. We reached 8,000 subscribers in the last stream, which I believe was also a deadline stream. So all of it is massively appreciated, and we've been getting some subscribers over the last few days, a lot of views in the last few videos. So all of it is much, much appreciated. Thank you very much. My hat is right off to you. Yeah, let me try. Yeah. Do you think Bernardo's getting benched this week? I don't think so. And as I read from the, let me get you the exact website, from starting11.com, 96% of people think Bernardo Silva will start. So let's wait and see. But I think a rest is coming for Bernardo Silva. It could be this week, but I think he will start. I could be wrong. Do you think Emerson's a good option instead of Region? He is a good option, but I prefer Region. That's how I got it at the moment. Tony's in the starting 11. Yeah, maybe that's a sign. Hopefully we got it right there for you, Adil. But yeah, Lamptey first, Antonio and Mbuma last. Yeah, I think that's probably the way to go on paper. But fixtures don't always translate into points, to be honest. Which forward should I go? I don't know what your budget is. Oh yeah, so get for Jimenez. My other 2 forwards are Benteke and Tony. One to get the one who can play this game week. Okay, so if you want someone who can play this game week, that's a difficult one. Very difficult. Oof, that's tough because, let's be honest, you know, the strikers I'd recommend to you are Antonio, King, Dennis. All of them you could arguably bench this week. So, I don't know. I'd play it long term and I'd go for a King or Dennis, but you could play them this week, but I'm not really too sure about that one, to be honest. Please rank in order to start Lamptey, Gallagher, Benteke. Lamptey first, Gallagher second, Benteke third, man, John. Time to go, 4:47 a.m. in Malaysia. See you in the reaction stream tomorrow. Thank you, Wei Seng. Thank you very much, and good luck. Enjoy your sleep, and good luck with the week, of course. Should be an interesting one. Agreed, we'll probably upgrade Smith Rowe to Bernardo instead. Leave some money in the bank. Still fancy Watkins to Vardy next game week. Very surprised we haven't seen Daka play in the Premier League barely at all. Yeah, especially after his Europa League heroics. We thought he'd get a bit of a reward. Hasn't happened yet. And Rodgers is a bit weird with these strikers because Iheanacho, remember last season how good he was, won the Community Shield this year for Leicester City. Just hasn't, got going. I don't know what happened there as well. But yeah, I think Smith Rowe to Bernardo looks good. I agree with Thomas as well. None of them. Hi, mate. Yeah, that's what I said. How is this team? Says Sink. I think it's pretty good. Armstrong is the one to sell, whether it's this week or in the weeks to come. I would get probably King or Dennis next week for Armstrong. But yeah, the rest looks fine. For now, Rafinha is another one you can get rid of. And you could maybe move him on to Bowen. I think that would look good for you, Sink. So Bowen in for Rafinha next week and Armstrong out for King or Dennis. Gallagher to Smith Rowe for a hit. No, Mahmood. No, not for me. Best Rafinha replacement in Game Week 16, Bowen, Fornals, ESR. I would say Bowen out of those three, but do not discount Fornals. And I probably haven't talked about him enough, but he's also a good option. Quite similar level to Bowen. Should I take a -4 to get Ronaldo for Vardy since Vardy might be rested? It's not a bad choice, but I probably wouldn't. Ronaldo does have a little bit of a doubt this week, but I probably wouldn't go there. And also you can keep Vardy for the Newcastle game, then start to get Ronaldo in with 2 free transfers, especially, you're taking a hit right now to do Vardy to Ronaldo and you're banking on Ronaldo to haul from the get-go. Jota or Silva? Jota, even though I like Silva a lot. Thoughts on Maddison? Good option for the next 3 or 4 game weeks, but long term, I'd rather go for those two you mentioned, Jota or Silva, and Bowen and Smith Rowe and Gallagher, etc. over Maddison. Thank you, Bacon. Still a lot of comments coming in. Keep them coming. Thank you very much to everyone. I'm not sure how many viewers we have. I haven't checked, but it's much appreciated. And if you haven't already, as we always say, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. If you have any questions that haven't been answered, you can leave them down in the comment section and I'll try to get back to you before the deadline. And there should be a reaction stream tomorrow or on Sunday, so keep an eye out on that as well. And not much FPL content comes about on Saturday, so that's why it's a good time to kind of already look ahead to the next game week and think of that. So 76 of you have voted, 78 now, and 46% of you are saying start Livramento, which is kind of the opposite of the poll I put in my community tab, where most people said bench Livramento and Antonio and start Gallagher. So interesting how these things can change, but at the moment I'm going for Livramento in my starting 11. Let's see. Do you think Ronaldo's worth it? Yes, but I wouldn't be taking hits and, getting rid of Vardy, etc. to get him in. But I think he is worth it. Having said that, he's not essential. You look at Salah, he is pretty much the main captaincy. So Ronaldo at 12 million, do you have to have him? No. -4 for Diaz, I'm not sure for who, mate, but Diaz is not a bad option. I just woke up and tempted of bringing in Foden instead of Bernardo Gundogan. What do you think, Dylan? I can see what you mean, and before his injury, I did prefer Foden over the other two. But in terms of stats, they're quite similar, all three of them. Statistically, you probably have to say Gundogan over the course of the season has been better. In recent game weeks, it's Bernardo Silva. And in terms of the goal output and points, of course, Bernardo Silva has been on his own level. I prefer Bernardo right now, but I like all three. Do you do morning deadline streams anymore? Well, not at the moment. Of course, I am open to doing them as well, but most people do prefer the Friday evening streams. And also, I do streams on Saturday, technically, or typically, for reactions. If I do a deadline stream and then a reaction stream on the same day, I would rather space out a little bit more. But we'll wait and see. I'm open-minded. Happy with my team and 2 free transfers. Should I just move Douglas to a 4.4 and save a 0.1 or waste of a transfer? Yeah, if you have nothing else to do, I can see why you do that, but I would honestly keep Douglas Luiz. He can sometimes be very useful. He got 5 points last week. He can do that sometimes for you if needed. So I probably wouldn't. Which is the best player for midfield, 7 to 7.5? Bernardo Silva or Gundogan. Any one of them, I'd say. Transfer out Jimenez for King, Dennis or Watkins. Has to be one of the Watford assets, even though I like Watkins as well. And I'd say King, but Dennis is definitely someone to go for as well. Please, may I say my team? Go for it, Adil. Dennis or Maddison? Who should I start? I would go for Maddison this week. Why is Gallagher price going down? Is he hurt? He isn't hurt. It's just people are getting rid of him. He just went up in price, even when people were talking about how bad of an asset he is. So, I don't know. It's just kind of a reversal of what happened there. Let me actually double check this. Yeah, he's destined to go down tonight. But I don't actually miss out on anything because I bought him at 6.1, I believe. Let me double check this. But, I'm not really too bothered by this, actually. Yeah, he's 6.2 right now. What did I purchase him at? I think 6.1. Yeah. So honestly, I'm not really that fast if he does go down. I'm just going to stick with Rudiger and Alonso because the risk of 2 clean sheets for James Alonso and me missing out by playing Livramento is too risky. Fair enough. And yeah, I'm going for double Chelsea defence myself, and I probably wouldn't have benched Alonso for Livramento. Obviously, with Rudiger's a bit different, but yeah. I think Antonio will score. It's possible. I mean, he has to score at some point, doesn't he? Not too sure if you answered this question already. How would you order my bench? Gaeta, Livramento, Gallagher, Antonio. I'd probably order it the exact same. Maybe Antonio had a Gallagher, but yeah, I probably would go that way, Kobe. Thoughts on bringing in Jesus? Good option, but I'd rather cover City with Foden, Gallagher, Bernardo Silva and Gundogan. Mbeumo or Gallagher? Gallagher, honestly, yeah. Rudiger or Livramento this week? I'd say Livramento, but Rudiger's not a bad choice either. I think something must have happened with Kelechi, very odd. Yeah, exactly. Probably a falling out or something like that. It's mad how Leicester bottled top 4 last year. Also, they were doing so well, and the year before, if you don't remember that. I think they were still pretty much in the contention for 4th the year before last. And what, did they lose to United last game of the season? And I think Chelsea ended up getting into the top 4 with Lampard. So, yeah, they just tend to bottle it. Tony, Dennis, Gallagher, rank my bench. Tony first, Gallagher second, Dennis third, Canal. Who would you sell Hwang for if you already have Joshua King? Tough one. Maybe even Dennis and double up on Watford attack. If not, Benteke. But honestly, I'd mainly be looking at either Tony or upgrading to someone more expensive. Unless you just go for a bench fodder striker and focus on a midfield and go for 5. Who would you choose between Son and Salah for captain? Salah. Who would you play, Rudiger or Antonio? Leaning towards Antonio. I'd actually play Antonio more. When it's Antonio Alonso, that's a bit more difficult, even though I still have had my doubts about that, but I probably would go for Antonio in that situation. Adil is saying, thinking of holding, then taking out Rafinha next game week. I would probably do the same thing looking at your team. Honestly, though, mate, you could also get rid of Mbeumo. I would get rid of Mbeumo, honestly. And you're benching him this week as well. I'd get rid of Mbeumo. So maybe do Mbeumo to... Let me try see who you have. So maybe Mbeumo to Bowen if you don't have him already. But then again, you're probably thinking of getting Bowen in already for Rafinha. But yeah, get rid of Mbeumo too. But other than that, your team's fine. Maybe Vardy to Ronaldo in a few game weeks' time when you get the money. Son to Bowen, then Jimenez to Ronaldo next game week, since I'm thinking to roll this week. Yeah, I think that looks pretty fine, to be honest, mate. I think that's perfectly fine, Ahmed. Livramento versus Smith Rowe. Think it's my only decision this week. I probably would go for Smith Rowe. What are your moves, Dylan? No moves. Keeping everything the same. The only things that could change is my bench and who comes in for Livramento, potentially. What do you think of Davis or Dyer? Better matches than Alonso and more nailed. I still prefer Alonso, and honestly, if you can afford it, I'd go for Reguilon. I think he just gets more bonus points, creates more chances, and will get more attacking returns. Thanks, mate. Do you think Diaz will play this game week, considering Laporte is back from suspension and Stones is fit? That is a possibility, but I think Diaz tends to get rested after international breaks more than anything else. I think Diaz will start. The only difference in my team to yours would be Son instead of Rafinha, but I'm hoping Rafinha blanks because he is a rank killer. I hope he gets one more return, then I can get rid of him and he can start blanking all he wants, to be honest. But yeah, a lot of teams are similar, unfortunately. Tony hasn't looked much of a goal threat recently. No, even against Everton, wasn't it, where he scored, but his non-penalty expected goals was 0. Exactly 0. So yeah, but the penalties is obviously a big kind of asset for him. Best Rafinha replacement, and are you thinking of getting rid of Gallagher? I just got Gallagher in, mate, so ahead of Game Week 14. I'm not looking to get rid of him yet, but if he continues to, produce poor underlying numbers, look poor in the eye test, then yes, I would be open to getting Bowen in for Gallagher. And also, because you asked this question as well with Rafinha, I'm looking to get in Bernardo Silva in for Rafinha. So Bernardo and Bowen are probably the two main ones I'd be looking at to replace Rafinha in your case. And I'm looking to keep Gallagher for now. Give him a bit of a chance. I just got him in. And if I made a mistake, I made a mistake, but I want to give time. Might get Tony out for Jimenez and then Vardy out for King and then get Cancelo for Ben White. Thoughts? I think that's perfectly fine, to be honest. You could also... No, you know what? That's fine. I'd do exactly the same as you. Just consider that maybe you would want a premium striker at one point, but you don't have to. I think that's fine. Is Ronaldo playing in the starting 11? I mean, I can only tell you my opinion. I think he will start, but if he is an injury doubt or anything like that, then of course he could be rested. Bernardo Silva or Rafinha? Bernardo Silva from now on in, definitely. Who should I bench out of Sanchez or Ramsdale? I'd bench Ramsdale. Bringing Kane a few weeks ago hasn't really worked out for me. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unlucky, Eduardinho. I mean, we expected more from Kane. He just hasn't done it. Should I play Antonio or Dennis? I'd play Antonio. Not too sure about that, but I probably would. What do you use to tell if a player is going down in price? You can just type in FPL price rises or FPL price changes, and then you have a site, for example, called FPL Statistics. They can give you that information. Also, Fantasy Football Fix, for example. There's different sites and stuff that can give you this information. How many votes have we had? Over 100. I'll probably be closing the poll soon, but most people saying I should start Livramento and bench Gallagher and Antonio. That's pretty interesting, to be fair. Yeah, Brighton to keep a clean sheet. I think it's possible, Jose. Same with the other way around with Southampton. Do you think Arsenal could keep a clean sheet against Everton? I think they can, but my personal opinion is Everton will score at least one goal. Have to choose King or White first sub. I still would maybe go for White because I'm not too sure about Watford scoring against City. ESR going up as well, potentially, yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, wow, we've gotten through a lot of questions, still a lot coming in. Thank you very much. Once again, if you haven't already, smash the like button, especially if you already put comments forward and they've been answered. James or Gallagher? In my opinion, Gallagher. What's yours? Definitely start James, yeah, no doubt about it. I have same 11 as yours except Dye instead of Livramento. My bench is Dennis, Gallagher and Smith Rowe. Yep, I think that's fine. Your bench is probably stronger than mine. You have Dennis already, so I think your team is in good shape, Matt. Why is it so easy to make the same mistakes in fantasy football? I mean, I don't know. Football is just unpredictable. That's why we can make the same mistakes. And, you know, even if you apply logic and, you know, you look at previous seasons, you look at data, it can still backfire. Gallagher or Duffy this week? I would probably say Gallagher, even though Duffy could be all right. Answered your question already. Mohem or Mohm. We both have 935 points. Wow, yeah. Hopefully we both get to the 1,000 mark this game week. Sell Jimenez for Watkins or Antonio. I would rather have Antonio, honestly, but Watkins is a good choice from Game Week 17 onwards. Mbuma to Silva for a hit. I would probably do that. Just bear in mind, even though I did recommend it, he might get rested. You never know, Bernardo Silva, but I would. Dylan, do you think Tavares is nailed? I'm thinking of having him as my defender as he stepped up post-Anfield. Thing is, though, another mistake against United. I think Tierney should be back in the starting 11. That's what I think should happen. Will Arteta do it? I don't know. But Tierney is back and available. He should be the number one left back. I don't think he's entirely nailed. So just wait and see what happens after the next game week against Everton. I wouldn't be bringing him in against Everton, to be honest. So just wait a week and then see. Keep Antonio or Vardy. I would keep Antonio and sell Vardy. Although if, you know, you could maybe keep Vardy for the Newcastle game, then get rid. Should I start Dennis this week? I only have Antonio, Armstrong and Dennis. You could arguably start Armstrong or Antonio instead, to be honest. Dennis would probably be the lowest out of those three because he's playing City. Duffy to Reguilon or Mbuma to Smith Rowe? I would do Mbuma to Smith Rowe, especially because Duffy is now maybe a bit more nailed than he was before, with Webster being injured. Might block Rafinha to Bernardo. Yeah, it might do, but you could still find another way to do Rafinha to Bernardo. And Mbuma to Smith Rowe isn't that much of an increase compared to Duffy and Reguilon. So I would do, I get Smith Rowe in. Yeah, Adel was asking, would you consider selling players from specific teams? So basically, we're looking at fixture swings. Game week 16, Chelsea players, maybe sell some of them. Spurs assets, their fixtures turn fairly soon. I need to check exactly when. Let me get Spurs players up. So, yeah, maybe Game Week 17 onwards, you could get rid of Spurs assets. But having said that, they still have great fixtures from Game Week 19 all the way to 27. But, yeah, if not for Spurs assets, you could sell them from Game Week 22 onwards. That's when I would definitely look to sell Son, Kane, Reguilon even. As for Chelsea, I think, is it Game Week 16? Let me double check this for you. I mean, yeah, you could even sell Chelsea players now. Maybe not triple up on them, have one or two. I think that's fine. Their defenders are still good assets. As for United assets, start bringing them in right now or Game Week 16. As for West Ham, Game Week 18 is definitely one place to start looking at them, or Game Week 16. So that's kind of some pointers to, you know, some game weeks where you can target some of the main teams. Man City, you just buy them in right now, to be honest. Their assets are looking really good for a number of weeks and months, to be honest. So start Dennis or Livramento? I'd start Livramento, mate, honestly, Mohamed. Thanks, Dylan. I got Smith Rowe in currently. Southampton defence is looking very suspect. Not expecting another Malpai overhead kick, though. Yeah, and Brighton typically they don't translate those opportunities into goals, but of course anything can happen, and it's a bit of a rivalry there between them. Let's wait and see. If Cancelo gets benched, he will come on for a 1-pointer. He doesn't really come on for a 1-pointer that often, but if he does, you have to take on the chin. I'd rather that happen than bench him and he gets a 14-pointer. Which premium striker do you suggest, mate? Probably Ronaldo. Lukaku, keep an eye on him, but at the moment it has to be Ronaldo with the fixtures. Same team, Captain Bernardo instead of Rafinha. Oh, except Bernardo, yeah. Should I look to change Vardy for Ronaldo? 0.1 million short at the moment. Yeah, I would look to do that. Maybe do it next week or the week after. If you decide to keep Vardy this week, maybe do it after Game Week 16, heading into Game Week 17. Madison or Bernardo? Definitely Bernardo if you're looking long term. Who do I play? Bernardo Silva or Rafinha? Start both of them, mate, but if I had to pick, play Bernardo. Thank you, Matt. Much appreciated. Why do you still have Vardy? Because I've got other fires to put out. I had other things to do. 2 hours. Yeah, we've been going on for over 2 hours. Yeah, time has gone by very quickly. Will Duffy play? I believe so, with Webster being injured. Smith or James to start? James. I'd start James. I wouldn't bench him. I know the fixture's tough, but just start James. Jimenez to King or Livramento to Region or Diaz? I would do Jimenez to King. Looking at this week, though, I think Livramento to Region or Diaz would give you the biggest upside, but long-term, Jimenez to King is the best option to do. Yeah, I mean, I just answer your question. I mean, I would just say don't put your question one more time because otherwise, yeah, I'll probably put you on timeout. Is it okay to keep Vardy until after Newcastle and then get United players from Game Week 17? Or should I be getting United players early, and if so, when? I'd probably say keep Vardy until the Newcastle game, then get Ronaldo in, Adil. That's what I'd probably say. Oh, thank you, Abdul. Thank you very much. Cheers. Yeah. What do you think of a Man City double defence? I think it's fine, perfectly fine. And if I had Diaz and Cancelo, I would definitely be looking to, just keep them, to be honest, at this point. So, yeah. How do you check your points? So just to demonstrate, obviously you can't see it on my screen because I've got it cropped, but if you go on the official Premier League website or your app, it literally gives you your score from the top of your screen. And with the FPL app, you have to scroll a bit down to the middle. Then there's a section where it tells you about your transfers, your squad value, and obviously your points, your overall points, and you can check it there. On the FPL website, it's much easier to find. You go on to pick my team, and on the right-hand side of your screen, you will have a section where it gives you your name, your team name, and then it'll say points rankings, and it'll say your overall points, overall ranks, your total players in the FPL game, which is now 8.7 million, by the way. It should reach 9 million, maybe even 10 million by the end of the season, and game week points as well at the very bottom. So very easy to find, to be honest. All right. Let's get through. Let me just end the poll now. So thank you very much to everyone who voted. I'll read out the results very soon. I transferred in Bernardo Silva for Rafinha. I'm planning to take out Kane for Ronaldo and King Dennis for Hwang next for Game Week 16. W or L plan? Bit early to say if it's an L or W, but I think, yeah, I would have probably done Bernardo Silva in next week, but there's nothing wrong with getting him in right now. Kane out for Ronaldo, fine. And King Dennis for Hwang. I think that's fantastic. I say it's a W, but let's wait and see, of course, how it pans out. But the decision, I'm not sneezing, by the way, the decision I think is perfectly fine. Let's see, what else have we missed? Jimenez to King or Dennis for a -4? No, because King or Dennis, they both play Man City this week. It's not worth a -4. Just keep Jimenez. He could actually do well against Liverpool. Get rid of him next week for free. So the results, 162 of you voted. 45% of you went with Livramento, nearly half. And then 32% said Gallagher and 22% Antonio. So most people saying I should bench Antonio. And also out of those three, it's going to be quite a popular benching dilemma this week. This FPL season is all about Salah. He's outscoring so many players. In terms of captaincy, yeah. And in a way, it kind of takes out a very stressful decision every week out of the equation. And maybe kind of reduces or improves, should I say, in the skill element. Because captaincy can be very, a lot of people do think that captaincy should be stripped. And we should just have, your players and see, who does well. Hi Dylan, would you play Livramento and Duffy ahead of Antonio and Gallagher? I probably would, but I don't know. It's difficult because all of them could backfire. Playing Duffy and Livramento, both teams could concede, and there you go, it's done. But I tend to favour the attackers, but those fixtures are so tough. I'd say maybe yeah, but I'm not entirely sure. Should we consider Livramento out? Yes, you should consider him, but you don't have to. And if so, for who? Easy. Lamptey, Eric Dyer, Ben Johnson, but I would say Lamptey as the pick. I don't think Tony would score this week. Leeds are conceding much, or are not conceding much in the last few weeks. Yeah, but I think it could be more of an open game than, in recent weeks. And even, Leeds against Palace, Palace should have scored multiple goals. Benteke missed an open goal. He missed sitters. So I think Leeds have been a bit fortunate not to concede. Martinelli differential pick. He could be decent with some of these, good fixtures coming up for Arsenal, but still, there's so many options in midfield. I probably wouldn't go there unless you're looking for someone around 5 million specifically, and I wouldn't recommend Henderson because he takes up a valuable Liverpool spot. So, yeah, he could be decent. My overall rank was 1,400 something last game week, but I had Smith Rowe second on the bench. Oof. So Mbeumo came in for James, and now I'm 2,608 in the world. Yeah, you're still up there, Adil. That's not too bad, but yeah, Smith Rowe did pretty well. I was a bit surprised, obviously, but the goal was rather fortunate as well. Would you transfer in Lamptey for Duffy? I probably still would, because long-term Duffy's not someone I'd really want. Vice captaincy, not Vardy? No. Cancelo, I think, is probably a better option this week. And also Villa are pretty decent since Gerrard came in. Do you think Duffy will start? Yes, I think he will, with Webster being out. Of course, it's not completely nailed, but I think he will. And Reguilon in for James. Do not get rid of James for Reguilon. Trust me, I would not do that. Ayling back and Bamford back yet for Leeds. Could we see their revival now? I spoke about this before. I think they will improve slightly, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near as good as they were last season, but they will improve. Will they have enough to escape the drop? I think so, but they're still in a relegation fight. But yeah, I think they will improve slightly. Adams over Jimenez? Neither for me, to be honest. If you're talking about who to start this week, then yes, I would probably start Che Adams over Jimenez. But long term, I'd look to sell both of them, get in King or Dennis, maybe even both. Maybe Benteke, Tony, and of course all these other more expensive forwards. My top three biggest FPL frauds this season, Hwang, Kane and Harvey Barnes. What's your top three forwards? Kane has to be first, mate, because he was one of the top scorers in FPL last season. He had the most goals, the most assists. He was such a great captaincy option at times. He was probably a better asset for most of the season than Salah. And this season he's just completely awful. 1 goal and 1 assist, which came against Newcastle. Yeah, I think Kane is first. Harvey Barnes, I agree with. He's probably second or third. I don't know about Hwang though. Hwang was always going to be a bit of an unsustainable asset, and I was even talking about maybe getting him in myself, but I talked about his stats. I think he had 4 shots on target at one point and 4 goals and 7 or 9 shots overall. That is simply unsustainable. As much as you're clinical, whatever, you can't keep that level of performance up when you're not really producing those underlying numbers. But I have to think of another one, honestly. Might be a bit harsh to say Ronaldo has been an FPL fraud, but he hasn't been anywhere near the hype. But I probably wouldn't include him in the top 3. Harry Kane has to be in there. Harvey Barnes. Start Saint-Maximin against Burnley or Tony. I'd probably start Saint-Maximin, but I'm a bit torn about that one, Adam. Thinking about the other fraud. There's quite a lot of them, though, this season, to be honest, isn't there? Maybe let's actually have a look at all the midfielders that we have here. Let's see. It's tough. De Bruyne? No? I think De Bruyne has to be up there. Yes, he hasn't played that much, to be fair, but still, you could actually, include De Bruyne into the mix there. Bruno Fernandes has experienced a huge dip, but of course, I think he will come good again. He has been rather fraudulent as well, but I probably would say De Bruyne, actually. Unless I'm forgetting about someone else. Lukaku? I'm just putting it out there. I think Lukaku has been rather fraudulent. I know he's another Belgian getting a lot of injuries, but Aubameyang has just been a fraud since last year, to be honest. I wouldn't even count him. That's how bad he's been. Yeah, I'd say Lukaku. Lukaku, De Bruyne, Kane, Barnes, you can take your top 3 from there, to be fair. Yeah, I think all of them. There's probably someone else I'm forgetting about. Robertson has slowly started to, be good again, so I'll give him a bit of slack, or cut him a bit of slack. Yeah. I'd probably go with those lot. Let me know if anyone has any other suggestions about the top 3 frauds this season in FPL. There's quite a lot of them to go through, but yeah, that's quite interesting. Let's see. Yeah, we've gone over for 2 hours and not 2 hours and a half yet. 2 hours and 15 minutes, so thank you very much. And we'll be wrapping up fairly soon. I'll try to get through last questions and comments. And yeah, thank you very much to everyone who liked the video, who subscribed and all of that. Much appreciated as always. I said that. Start Fornals or Mbumo. I start Mbumo probably, even though I'm not a big fan of either. For this game week, I like Fornals longer term. Good evening, how are you? I hope you're doing well. What do you think about Son captain? I would probably stick with Salah, and hopefully you're doing well, Versta. And I probably would go that way. Kane, Lukaku, or Cristiano from Gameweek 16. Has to be Cristiano, but I'm keeping an eye on Lukaku. Kane is just a no-go for me at the moment. I'm still thinking who to start, Alonso or Tony. I feel West Ham would score, but Tony didn't impress me either. I probably would go for Tony if you already have James or another Chelsea defender in there. Thoughts on Bernardo? I'm looking to get him in around Game Week 16. I think he's doing very well. Will he score this many goals going into the future? Probably not, but I still think he'll do well, and he's got decent stats. I don't get the trend with Dennis and King. I don't care. It's overrated. Fair enough, but I just think, just name me a striker who's doing better or that has the fixtures and the form over them. Just no one really. So I think King or Dennis, you don't have to just look at their price and kind of scoff at them. I still think they're good choices. Dylan, would you recommend I sell Kane for Ronaldo next week or go big in midfield instead? It's a tough one. It depends who you would get in though in midfield. Maybe Bruno Fernandes. He's someone to look at under Ranić. He could actually be the one to go for over Ronaldo. Sadio Mane is also not too bad. Heung-min Son, but I probably would say either go with Ronaldo or Bruno Fernandes in midfield. But just wait and see. In 1 week's time, I'll give you a better answer. Let's see how they do. But Ronaldo, just bear in mind with him, he could be benched from time to time. He's 36 years old. He's not going to play every 3 or 4 days. Sure, someone to keep an eye on over this period for United, but will he start every game? It could be Telles. Ranić isn't a big fan of Shaw as well. I think Shaw will still get more game time than most people think, but let's wait and see. United are still not a great team, especially defensively. As in for top 3 frauds. Yeah, that's actually, I think that's a great shout. I actually forgot about him. Yeah, that's a fantastic shout. Diaz for Robertson? No, I would keep Diaz. Don't you rate Reguilon short term? Yes, I do. Up until Game Week 22, you could say, but you don't have to get him in. That's my point, especially when you're looking to get rid of James, for example. I've seen some people say that. Not for me. Man City have a full squad available, just no Ferran Torres yet. Foden, Grealish, Bernardo, Jesus, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Sterling, Gundogan. Exactly, so many to choose from. That's why it's difficult to predict their starting 11, but I think whoever starts between Mahrez or Jesus could be very good against Watford. We say this most weeks, to be fair. Top 3 frauds, Hwang, Willock, Torres. I'm not sure about Willock because, he had that streak last season. Yeah, he was fraudulent, but, I never really expected him to continue that this season. Newcastle are awful. We have to bear that in mind, and Willock has been playing deeper. So I probably would exclude him. Torres, quite fraudulent because, 21 points or whatever, or 18 points against Arsenal, then he just went missing. A lot of people brought him back in or brought him in after that game, and he was just awful. So yeah, I think Torres is a good shout, and even Hwang potentially. Kane to Ronaldo this week or keep Kane for 1 more week? I probably would keep for 1 more week, but ultimately it's a sell. That extra week gives you an extra transfer potentially, and also you can move in midfield rather than, definitely moving to another striker. It gives you more flexibility. Kane to Ronaldo and Rafinha to Bowen next week for free. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine animations. I think that's probably what I would do in your situation. De Gea versus Ramsdale. Ramsdale for me. Do you think Alonso can outscore Reguilon long term? I think so, but he just hasn't been doing it so far. But I probably would go for Alonso even now. But of course, it's difficult to back him when he's just been doing so poorly. He was heavily involved in both goals Chelsea scored, though. That's something else to think about. Hasta luego, tengo que irme ahora. Buena suerte y gran transmisión, como siempre, Dylan. Thank you, Kobe. Good luck and buena suerte, como dijiste vos. And just all the very best of luck. I took out Vardy for Dennis, and next week I'll do Rafinha and Tony to Ronaldo and Maddison. What I would say about that, Kyle, is Maddison, bringing him next week could be very good against Newcastle, but you probably would be looking to get rid a few weeks after. Maddison's a streaky player. I expect him to do very well over the next 3 or 4, but I would rather go for a long-term asset like a Jarrod Bowen, a Bernardo Silva, a Gundogan, or Smith Rowe or Gallagher rather than Maddison. But I do like the transfers, Kyle. I think they're still good. And, I think you've got the right ideas, and Maddison's still a good choice, but I'm just not too sure if he's the right transfer to get in next week when ultimately I think there are better options long term. That's just the way I see it. I could be wrong, but yeah, I also want to look at the fixtures there as well. That's how my team is set up for game week 15. So many different game weeks to come. There's also going to be the game week 16 reaction stream probably tomorrow. And of course, we're reacting to game week 15, but also looking ahead to game week 16 as well. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in today. Very much appreciated. And as you can see on the left-hand corner of your screen, 60 points in game week 14. 935 points overall, looking to break the 1,000 point mark in Game Week 15, 58k overall rank, so I got a small red arrow unfortunately, but looking to push on. I've got 1 free transfer, I'm probably going to be saving it and have 2 ahead of Game Week 16, where I've been talking about this in my videos and streams. Rafinha will probably make way, and I also have a few other plans, such as Livramento out potentially. Jamie Vardy could also make way. I could go big in midfield or get Cristiano Ronaldo in there, and King or Dennis could be coming in for one of my other strikers. And if Gallagher continues to not deliver, then he's another one who could actually make way, to be honest. And it could be Bowen and Bernardo Silva coming in for my midfield. My midfield I just haven't been able to nail all season. Last season I did very well with my midfield, having Son, Salah, etc., Rafinha, but I just haven't been able to do it this season. Let's see. I took out Vardy for Dennis, and next week I'll do Rafinha and Tony to Ronaldo, Maddison. Fair enough. Once again, like I said, I probably wouldn't go for Maddison, but that Vardy for Dennis, I mean, wow, fair play. I wouldn't have expected that. I miss James Justin, so do I, and Leicester assets, especially defensively, just awful. Bowen in for Smith Rowe or Gallagher. I still prefer Gallagher, but you have to take into account those factors that influence his performances FPL-wise. 0xG against Leeds. And when McArthur isn't on the pitch, that affects Gallagher massively. You look at his heat maps, he's nowhere near as advanced when Gallagher isn't on the pitch. When McArthur isn't on the pitch. Then you look at Milivojevic, of course he did miss out against Leeds, but when he does play, he takes set pieces away from him. And Eze, him playing or him coming into the side, whether it's as a substitute or a starter, that pushes Gallagher further back. But I would still probably prefer Gallagher. So maybe sell Smith Rowe. It's a tough one though. It's a tough one to say. I'd probably reevaluate after next game week and maybe look to bring Bowen in ahead of game week 18 so you have more information, more data to make the best decision possible. So Adil's team. Oh, that's no, it's not your team. That's the list of frauds. Bamford and DCL have been unlucky with the injuries, but I agree with the vast majority of them. Yeah, you could even put Ronaldo in there himself. Emi Martinez, yeah, I think so. He's nowhere near as good as he was last season. And that price rise from 4.5 to 5.5, I mean, his value, he went from one of the best value players in the game last season to one of the worst value ones, arguably, this season, especially in goal. Oh, how can we not mention Digne? I mean, he's always a fraud, isn't he? So that's probably why I didn't think of him. John Stoneson's another one. You mentioned some very good players there. Sterling is now starting to get some form back. But you know what? He's been pretty poor for a few seasons now, especially last year. But I think he can slowly start to, improve. Mahrez has just not gotten the game time. I agree with all of them, though, pretty much. Watkins is also showing a bit of form. But yeah, most of them pretty poor. Is Fornals a good shout-out? Yeah, I think so. You could also go for Fornals, not just Bowen. But I would still just about go for Bowen. Just keep an eye on Bowen, on Fornals, though, as well. It's 50-50. Should I take Foden out or Rafinha? Don't get rid of either of them this week. Just keep both of them, mate. See you later, Dylan. Good luck with this game week, everyone. Thank you, Galactic Hobbit. Thank you for moderating the chat and for contributing positively to the discussions and for everything. Good luck this week, mate. Watkins for Antonio. I probably wouldn't. I'd keep Antonio, as much as that sounds weird. Is it worth taking a -4 for Tony and King in? Vardy out and Jimenez out? I probably wouldn't. And you can keep Vardy ahead of the Newcastle game as well. Then look to sell. You can have 2 free transfers, avoid taking a hit, and you can get a premium striker in. Or you can make those proposed transfers and upgrade your midfield in the weeks to come, but without the hit. What are your plans for Game Week 16? I talked about this before. Rafinha could make way for Bernardo Silva or Gundogan. That's what I'm thinking of. Bowen's another one. If Gallagher continues to be poor, by Game Week 18 he could make way for Jared Bowens or whoever I don't get out of those 3 midfielders I mentioned. Lamptey could come in for Livramento. If Alonso continues to be a disappointment, I could get Ben Johnson, maybe Reguilon or another defender in for him, but I am open-minded and willing to give him more chances. King or Dennis could be coming in up front, whether it's for Tony or Antonio, and Ronaldo in for Vardy. If I don't go for that, I could maybe upgrade my midfield and go for a Bruno Fernandes instead. So I am kind of open-minded, but there's definitely a lot of people who can make way. But ultimately, Rafinha's on the chopping block, and he probably will definitely go in Game Week 16. Tony or Antonio? Most likely will be Tony, because Antonio I'd rather keep long-term, looking at the fixtures. Livramento's on the chopping block, Alonso too, and then Jamie Vardy. So quite a lot of changes could happen. Even Gallagher, who I just brought in, I'm willing to give him a chance. I think he's still a good long-term option. But if these problems continue to persist and there's no sign of improvement in 4 or 5 game weeks' time, he's a sell. So those are my transfer plans. Hopefully that's clear. And I talked about this as well in my team selection video. If you haven't already, check that out as well. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today. I'll try to get through any last questions. We've almost been going for 2.5 hours. The deadline is tomorrow, and I'll be aiming to do a reaction stream, whether it's tomorrow night or the following day. Oh, yeah. Antonio fraud, to be honest. Some people that hold him. Yeah, he has been a fraud, to be honest. Last 4 or 5 game weeks, and you could even say since game week 4. I mean, his start was absolutely exceptional, but it's just, yeah, there's not really any viable alternative, up front. Yeah, as I said earlier, there'll probably be a reaction stream tomorrow. This is the deadline stream. So, yeah. Should I do Ronaldo for Kane? Yeah, if not, maybe do it next week, but I think that's a good move. Massive fixture swing? Yeah, there is. That's why I'm looking to potentially get some United players in the coming weeks. Worth getting Cornet to play him against Newcastle and Watford in the next 3? I think so. Cornet's another good midfielder to go for. I've been talking about him for several weeks. Hasn't done too well recently. Of course, the game was suspended against Tottenham, but I think he is one to look for. Should I get rid of Mbeumo or Tony? Get rid of Mbeumo, Joseph. Benrahma became a fraud too. Yeah, Benrahma's another one. Grealish as well. There's so many this season, isn't there? Rudiger out for James this week. Yeah, if you have 2 free transfers, Murray, I definitely would do it, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's worth it. Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, James, Mbeumo, Foden, Rafinha, Salah, Jota. Yeah, that's fine. Transfer suggestions, Kane to Ronaldo, maybe next week. Rafinha next week, you could get rid of for Bernardo Silva. Mbeumo, get rid of him for Bowen. I think those are some easy transfers for you, Swagger. Is Bowen really worth 6.4 right now, though, when Fornals is 6 million? Well, this is the thing, and that's why I'm very keen on seeing how West Ham do over the next few game weeks and then making a final decision. I think you make a really good point. Fornals could be the one to go for. Slightly cheaper, very good differential, and very attacking, as you say, as well. So, yeah, Fornals is a great choice too. When's the next wildcard? I think it's game week 18 or 19, basically for the second half of the season. If not, it could actually be game week 17, but I believe it's game week 18 onwards. Start Mbeumo or Mahrez. If you have Mahrez, start him, mate. Start him. Is Ronaldo injured? He's got a slight injury doubt, but if it's, if the test is fine and, there's no concerns, he will start, in my opinion. When I wildcard in game week 18, do I sell all 3 of my Chelsea defenders so I avoid the blank game week? Yeah, tough one, isn't it? Because Chelsea, they blank in game weeks 24-25. They might have a double game week shortly after that, though, and it could even fall under the same, or in a few game weeks' time after that. It's a tough one, actually, isn't it? I'd say, yeah, if not, maybe keep one of them, like a Reece James, then sell him just before that blank game week. Or you could use that free hit potentially. Obviously, we don't know how things are going to pan out exactly, but yeah, I'd probably sell most of them on a wild card, if not all. Hoping for some green arrows off the 3 red arrows in a row. Yeah, Amir, I'd look to move out Hwang to either Dennis or King. Your midfield is pretty fine, to be fair. Kane to Ronaldo you could do, or if not, you can downgrade to another striker who's cheap, and then upgrade your midfield. Your defense is fine, although keep an eye on Alonso, see how he does. Who can I get for Mbeumo? Yeah, like I said before, Joseph, I would probably look to get in either Bowen or Fornals. You can get Cornet, Smith Rowe, Gallagher. All of them are great choices. If you have enough money, go for Bernardo Silva or Gundogan. Thank you for all your help in answering all these questions. I appreciate it. Good luck and have a good weekend. Thank you, Adil. Good luck and all the very best, as always. Radu, what should I change, please? Once again, Kane to Ronaldo, or if not, you can downgrade to a cheaper striker like King or Dennis in the coming weeks. It could be in head of game week 16 instead, and then upgrade your midfield. It depends what you want to do there. I see why you have Edison, but yeah, I think a few things to change here is downgrade Ederson to Ramsdale or another cheaper goalkeeper like Sanchez. Upgrade Rudiger to James. Upgrade Stones to... Oh no, you already got James, my bad. Rudiger to Cancelo. Stones to either Diaz or Trent. I would look to get Trent in. And in the coming weeks, you could also do Tomiyasu to, for example, Lamptey. But that's fine, to be honest. I think those are the main transfers I would look to get. I'd look to try to get some of those premium fullbacks in, like Trent and Cancelo, at least one of them, and get Ronaldo for Kane, or a cheaper striker like King or Dennis, and upgrade your midfield. And that money, by the way, would definitely be able... You could get all those premium defenders I said. Should I try to get Alonso in? I don't think you have to be honest. And this week is not really the time to get him in. So wait for next week, if anything. Livramento or Ben White? I would start Livramento this week, Danny. For some Region, I think he's a good option up until Game Week 22. But I don't think you have to get him. He's the best option from Spurs defence and arguably from Spurs right now. And I would go for him over Emerson Royale. But I wouldn't be in a rush to get him in, especially for a hit. He's Sean Livramento over Gallagher this week. No, I'm not, Sam. Same with Antonio. But that's what I'm going with at the moment. And most people in this poll that I put out earlier in the stream, 45% went with Livramento. Only, less than 200 votes to be fair. But it's a tough one. You know, you can make a case for any of them. Thanks, mate. Just subscribe. Thank you, Radu. Much appreciated. And looking forward to seeing you on all these different streams and videos. And there will be probably a reaction stream tomorrow or Sunday, so be sure to tune in there as well. We've just passed the 2.5 hour mark. Thank you very much. I'm going to try save my voice for tomorrow, especially if there is a stream. There's also going to be UCL Fantasy content. If any of you do play UCL Fantasy and you haven't already checked out my videos, check them out. I also do deadline streams for UCL Fantasy. There's going to be one last one for the year at a match day 6 next week. And then there's a long break up until February and we can focus fully on FPL for the time being. But yeah, there'll be UCL Fantasy content coming about over the next few days. Same goes for a reaction stream. And then we'll have a bit more time to do the transfer tips video for Game Week 16 in FPL, team selection, and much more. So thank you very much to everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, as we always say, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. And obviously, it's just much appreciated everyone tuning in. And good luck for the rest of the season. Captain Jota, I would go for Salah, mate. I'd go for Jota. For some reason, this is kind of bugging out, these little keys here. But here you go. Thank you very much. And subscribe, put notifications on, comment down below, share the video, and all of that good stuff. And you can see here my Twitter and Instagram, Dylan_RCM, the same as my YouTube username. I'll try to go through these last few questions here. I really convinced myself I want Region, and I was looking to do it for a hit, Archer, and I can get Ronaldo next game week. What do you think? Yeah, to be honest, I think that's pretty fine. Yeah, I agree with the transfers, and I think you are improving your team. NM, I will probably do that. Also consider the possibility of maybe getting Bruno Fernandes instead and not going for Ronaldo, but honestly, that looks fine. I have Jimenez and King and 2 free transfers. I was looking to do Jimenez to Antonio, but his next 2 fixtures aren't good. Would you do a move for Jimenez to Watkins for the next 2 weeks and get Antonio after that? But Watkins' fixtures aren't that great either. He does play Liverpool soon. Leicester's not a bad fixture. I believe they play them soon, but I honestly wouldn't. Yeah, I would just get Antonio, personally. Advice on next couple of moves: Sanchez, Cancelo, White, Trent, Region, Salah, Jota, Mount, Rafinha. Okay, so quite a few here. It's a good team overall. You do have 2 bench fodder options. Well, to be honest, I think you need to improve your bench, real fams. So looking at it, Kane to Ronaldo or a cheaper striker is something I would recommend. Mount, I would move on to Bernardo Silva or Gundogan. Rafinha, I would move on to Bowen or Fornals or Smith Rowe, Gallagher, Cornet, any of those options I always discuss. And I would look to improve either Davis or Douglas Luiz because you need probably one more option on your bench when needed. Livramento isn't really going to cover it. Livramento is another one you could arguably move on to. Lamptey. You've already got White as well. Yeah, you got Cancelo. No James. I mean, that's an interesting one. You don't have to have him, but yeah, I think there's a few things you could do with your team. But yeah, that's what I would do overall. Rafinha, Mount. Rafinha, don't get rid of him this week, by the way. Get rid of him in Game Week 16. Mount, I'd just get rid of him whenever, to be honest. And Kane to Ronaldo is definitely a good option. You think United will be another case of FOMO disappointment like Spurs? Potentially, but I think United have better quality players. They have such a good run for a long period of time. Ranić now coming into the wheel. I think they will maybe not, deliver on the hype, but I think they will not be as bad as Spurs. Thank you, Crispy. Bye to you as well. Sidish, -4, 0 in the bank. Any ideas? Bernardo and King in for a -4. Yep, I think that's fine. I'm not sure who you got out, but fair enough. In terms of other transfers to do, once again, Kane to Ronaldo or downgrading Kane and then upgrading your midfield, getting maybe Bernardo Silva, but I think Kane to Ronaldo just makes sense. Other moves you can make, you got King in already, I think that's fine. Your defense is pretty good. Honestly, I think you're in good shape. You don't have to make a transfer ahead of Game Week 16 as things stand. You could maybe consider Lamptey in for Livramento, but other than that, I think that's pretty good. You could actually save it and have 2 free transfers heading into Game Week 17, mate. Thank you very much to everyone for all the questions. If you have anything that I haven't answered, leave them in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this. Good luck for Game Week 15, and I'll see you next time.